This conference will now be recorded.
You do Stephen underscore,
S underscore.
oh, S underscore. Sorry.
Oh, you only got 30 minutes.
Okay.
Someone broke my computer.
Okay.
Oh,
And then,
wonder how we could use some of them trees that are down to make some paper.
is this yours or mine? This is mine?
Oh, is this the same thing you just gave me?
No. Oh, did I give you one? Thank you.
That's, is that mine or his? Well, he took it.
Did I separate them out and everything?
Well, you didn't give
Am I?
Kenny one.
I don't care. I'm good. I can do it.
You didn't give Kenny one.
Thank you.
All right, what's going on?
You moved.
Uh-huh.
And I think you're, well, we gotta,
Gail,
if we gotta,
Ken didn't
if
get
we gotta
one.
nominate a new
Kenny didn't get one.
person, do I open it up and then hand it?
No, it's Steve. He's Steve CRA.
Yeah.
No, that's the other thing.
Oh, Steve runs this meeting. Steve runs this meeting.
Oh, I thought we already did that. Because it's on the agenda to do it again.
No, yeah.
Wait a minute now. I have to sign into this now?
Yeah, I know
He
that.
runs the meeting right now.
But in the thing. Okay, call to order.
Yeah, so he runs it, and then he'll ask for.
I said
Who would be next?
Oh, okay.
Following the pattern you've been doing.
Yeah, it would have been,
Because we,
Steve.
because I,
Yeah.
So it should be Steve and Joey.
So here's Steve. Gotcha.
wait a minute. Thank you.
All right, Mike, I've
And,
got
and
this.
then I had to change the password. Oh, gosh.
And when it comes on. Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Want my
everybody.
name?
We're ready, Ricardo?
Oh, hold on one second, please.
Good evening. Welcome to the April 28th Community Redevelopment Agency regular meeting. Ricardo, may I have the roll call, please?
Sir, Steven Spina,
Here.
Jody Wilkinson, Lance Smith, here. Charles Proctor,
Here.
Kenneth Burgess,
Here.
Mayor Munson, William Poe,
Here.
Matthew Maggard.
All right, thank you. Do we have any citizen comments this evening? That was our first agenda item.
Check the sign-up sheet real quick.
There wasn't any when I walked in.
And
Thank you. Anybody here would they like to say anything? Okay. Ms. Hamilton, we'll go right into the business items.
All right. It's That time of the year again for reorganization of the CRA board. It's our first item up.
I make a motion that we nominate Steve as Councilman Spina as the president.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any nays? No nays, motion passes. May we have a motion then for the board vice chairperson?
I would move Jody Wilkerson be vice chair.
I'll second.
You're not here. That's what you get.
We have a motion and a second to nominate Councilwoman Wilkerson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No nays, motion passes. Thank you, I think. So this is what I get for butting in last year. A 2-year, okay. Second item, Ms. Hamilton, we'll go to you.
So our second item tonight is the residential ownership incentive program
Ron, hold on.
for 385338 8th Avenue.
Oh, we don't have the minutes. Oh, they're down here. They're down further. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh,
When
the
I
minutes.
asked you to put it at the front, you put it at the front, didn't you? I'm
We're gonna
sorry.
need a
I asked
motion.
him to do that. We
That's
usually-
okay. That's all right. We'll just go.
So tonight we have the incentive, ownership incentive program. Ms. Say your first name. Ayana Davenport is here tonight. She is purchasing the home. She meets all of, this is over on 8th Street, and if it looks familiar.
8th Avenue.
8th Avenue. We've done a grant on this house. They have not lived in it for 5 years, so at closing, that $5,000 will come back to us. And the current owner is aware.
Oh, okay.
So
All
if
right.
it looks familiar, that's why.
Well, I drove by there this afternoon. I think I drove by the wrong house. I must have been on the wrong.
It used to be yellow,
Okay.
or it's right next to the big yellow house. Yes,
Okay. All right. I'm sorry. And this is where they get the 5,000 incentive?
that is correct. And the program works that the board approves it. They go to closing. They close, they bring us a copy of, Ms. Davenport will bring a copy of the warranty deed and the closing statement. We will do a 5-year lien on the property. She has to sign all the lien agreements. And when she comes in and after all the liens papers are signed, we process the $5,000
right.
incentive.
All right, great. So they just
So
have, they have to
she doesn't
live
stay
in.
5 years. At closing, when she sells the house, she will have to pay the money back.
Okay. Have a
Mr. Chair,
motion,
I'd move approval of this item.
Second.
have a motion and a second. Any comments or further? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No nays, motion passes. Congrats.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Glad to have you.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
We're neighbors,
There you are.
pretty much.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Our second item,
Item?
I'm sorry,
No, I was going to say the same thing. So.
Billy keeps looking at me going 30 minutes, so.
Okay.
Residential facade grant, Miss Amelia Patton, and she is here tonight. If you have any questions for 5034 4th Street, the grant application meets all of the
Requirements?
requirements. Thank you. And therefore, staff recommends approval.
Okay.
Chair, I have a ton of questions for the applicant on this. Mr. Chair, I have a ton of questions for Miss Amy on this application. I'm just kidding. I've known her forever. I move approval of this item. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No nays, motion passes. Thank
Perfect.
you.
So you're all set to go?
Congratulations.
Welcome.
So our next item is the approval of the CRA minutes for February.
Do we have a motion to approve the
I make a
minute?
motion that we approve the CRA meetings for February.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? Nays? Motion passes. Point 5, approval of the workshop minutes of March 19th.
Move for approval of business item 2.5.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? No nays? Motion passes. Okay, we're on 2.6.
Our inventory and evaluation of the trees within city parks, the arborist report. And one of the things that came out of the arborist report, it is not just about our existing trees. It is planning for the future. We lost a tremendous amount of trees during the storms, and we want to come up with a plan to replant not only the parks, but also our street trees. The CRA is doing a program for the neighborhood that if someone in the neighborhood in the CRA neighborhood, let me clarify, wants a street tree, the CRA will have the arborist locate the place for it, give them a list of trees to pick from, and the CRA will plant the tree. The homeowner will have to water the tree for the first year until it is established. So part of getting that done is having the arborist help us select trees, not only for the street trees, but also the parks. If you notice in the report, it talks about the lack of diversity of trees. We have oak trees, we have pine trees. That's about it. And we want to create a variety of trees in the parks so that should one get a disease, we won't wipe out all of the trees. So we're looking at what type of trees and locations. The arborist is going to work with GAI, who is doing the master parks plan, and come up with a plan for trees within the park. We want to make sure that they're in the best location. So we're having them work together is the way to do it. It's interesting that they came out in January and did their first report. I walked with them. We went back in March, at the end of March, because there were trees that were standing in water that looked healthy in February, did not look healthy in March. So it is a constant thing that we are going to be keeping up with. Shane's crews, our public works director, and his crews are out checking trees as well. And so that we make sure that our tree canopy is healthy. Does anybody have any questions? I also I gave you some information. One of the things that the arborist, this team is working with IFAS. It's just not Pasco County that lost a lot of trees. All of Central Florida lost a lot of trees, and IFAS is working on trying to create wildlife habitat. If you lost the top of your tree, don't cut it down. Let the wildlife, they talk about how wildlife, birds, owls, woodpeckers will still make a home in those trees because their homes were knocked down when the trees were demolished during the storm. So there is a whole lot of information that I gave you. We're going to start pushing that out on social media to inform our residents on how we can better our community by making better places for our wildlife.
Gail, when you handed that out, I kind of laughed because a couple of years ago I had a palm tree that lost its whole top and that whatever that disease is, and I didn't cut it down right away, and that's exactly what happened. Woodpeckers moved in. I called it my woodpecker condominium. My grandkids were a couple of years younger, and they loved it, watching the babies come out and everything. But it actually works.
It
So.
does work. And I'll tell you the same thing, exact same thing happened to me. The top of the palm tree fell out. I didn't cut it down. And not only did I have woodpeckers, but I had baby owls and that used the tree. And it is fascinating to watch them in the morning. So there's a lot of benefit to it. Yes, sir?
Just want to, I know we've talked about this a couple times, and it just hit me. We may need to look at our ordinances, like for code enforcement on tree removal. And if we allow the trunk to remain. So we may
Yes,
need to
there
look
are-
at that
There are
language.
some things that we will have to adapt in our ordinances to
Right.
allow it. We'll also have to adapt some in our parks because, the first thing when I say, let a dead tree stand, Shane says to me, absolutely not. Well, the arborists have a way of coordinating that off and educating people about why we're doing this. So it's a program that we'll do with IFAS that will help us with the language on the education part of it.
Kind of like Trema. Sorry. I was
I
gonna,
knew you would laugh,
I paid him to laugh before. But we're not talking about trees where the roots are out of the ground.
No.
We're talking about trunks that are, and you can kind of, yeah, I think that's a great idea and that you do want to preserve the wildlife and provide.
And while they're living in the dead trees, we'll be planting new trees for them to make a home
And they'll
in.
move.
That's correct,
I mean-
and then move. I mean, because eventually that dead tree will crumble.
Right, right.
So we want to work on that. So I don't need any action. I just wanted to present it. And we will get a report every other month. So 6 times in the year, we'll get a report. They actually come out, look at the trees, and we hope that our next visit, we will have some homeowners that will want trees in front of their homes. So we're looking forward to that.
Mr. Chair, can I just, on this item before we leave it, they provided a GIS file to our staff so they can put it in there. And then the other thing is, I think the report's great and all that, but that report does not shade any person or provide a bird with a home. We got to use this to create a planting guide and start doing it,
That
okay?
is correct. You are absolutely right. We have a tree mitigation fund. We need to
You
start
need to- yeah,
using it.
it's doing no good in the bank,
That's
honestly.
right.
So,
We have to get it out.
And I'd like, I think we mentioned this last meeting, last council meeting. We were talking about some of the parks and in terms of the dog park and Ellis Harrell Park. We need trees there, period. And then,
Every shade.
and then we need a lot of replacement trees at Hercules, and we could use some at Cruisin' as well. So, yeah, I think we've got money in the bank in this case, and we need to start.
And I think staff hears you loud and clear about getting it done. So we'll work on that and I'll have an update for you at the next meeting.
thank you.
Oh, all right. Any other questions? Before you go to the next item, Ms. Patton would like to say something.
Well, we're happy that you are investing in the community as well, and we're glad to help you make that investment.
Yes, well, thank you very much. Thank you. You're very welcome. Appreciate it. Okay, the CRA Director's Report.
Okay, we had a couple of items that got pulled because we needed to work out the contract, but we do have a bidder or a contractor for the Fifth Avenue and First Street Oakside Cemetery work. The issue right now is who owns it. Is county property. It's a county right of way, but DOT is keeping it until they pave it. We are working with Mr. Myers at DOT and the county to come up with an interlocal agreement that allows us to go ahead and work in the right of way. Nothing we do is going to interfere with the paving of the road. It's all in the right of way. New street signs, benches, trash cans, those types of things. First Street is really we're redoing the front of the cemetery, adding new columns. So we'll start with the cemetery while we work out the Fifth Avenue, but that's why we're being delayed. That's the only reason. We have the scope of services written for Clock Plaza. We are working with our existing consultants on a scope and fee for doing the square. But we're also I'm also looking at a couple of new firms to do a bid as well. So like to get a new view, a new, outlook on downtown. So it'll probably be a couple of months before I have a contract in front of you. It will have to go out. So I know I want to be under design before September. That's my goal. And I hope you're okay with that. Let
Well,
me
it's
know.
in this year's budget,
It's in this year's budget.
so we would like that too.
Or just, is the design or the build in this year, both?
Both.
Okay. So
We
will you
won't
be
get
able,
to-
you will,
Yeah, we'll have to carry it
you'll
over.
be able to carry that
Right, we'll
over?
carry the
Okay.
construction over, but
That
the
was-
design we can get done.
Answers one of my questions I
Um,
have on my list.
The other thing that we've been working on is the master plan for the parks. We had our workshop on it. They have taken some more information. They are working on the priority. We asked them to give us a priority list of equipment that we can buy for the parks now. And what should they be to help us pick out the equipment? They are working on that. They are also working with the arborist on the tree program for the parks. So we are hopefully, we'll have the final park plan back to you in another month for your final review. I need to have staff review, and I need to get Todd and the planning department to review it and just make sure that they're okay, as well as our public works department, so that before I give it to you to review, they have signed off on it. We also are working on finishing up the graphics for the master plan. We kind of have slowed down a little bit on the master plan because we weren't really sure, and I'm not sure standing here today, that the legislature is going to curtail CRAs and how that's going to work in our master plan. I want to thank all of the CRA board members for reaching out, for making those calls to go into Tallahassee and helping us. There may be problems with CRAs in other part of the state, but in Zephyrhills, the CRA works very well with the county, works very well with the other departments. So I'm hoping against hope that we make it through the legislative session and CRAs are not harmed by the legislation. We will not be harmed. So if all goes well, we'll have the final CRA plan back to you in another month. As part of the CRA plan, we are also doing a sign program. We're updating the sign standards. There have been, you do something, you start a new plan, you think you've met every obstacle, you've thought of everything, then you put it out in the public and no, you haven't, you've missed something. Or what you thought, how people would take it is not how they take it. So we are revamping it. There is a lot of things that the CRA gets. Oh, the CRA does that. The city, the CRA plan or sign standard works on the city's plan. So the city does not allow pole signs anymore. Neither does the CRA district. The city no longer allows moving, scrolling signage. Neither, you can't do it in the CRA either. The biggest thing that the CRA is doing is, in difference to what the city has, is trying to promote unique sign standards and doing internally lit signs. We don't allow internally lit signs in the CRA. So one of the things that we'd like to do, several months ago, we talked about, it may have even been 6 months ago, we talked about the sign grant is really for unique signage. It's us helping to pay for you spending that extra money on a really unique and wonderful sign. And since we instituted that agreement, I've not gotten any sign grants. So we need to step back and figure out how we can educate people on the sign grants, how we can encourage them, and what do we need to do to have more creative signage. One of the things that I try and get new businesses to understand is your sign is like public art. It really is what will, everybody has a sign. But if you have a unique sign that stands out, I'm going to notice you. Whether it's 10 feet big or 12 feet big, it's the uniqueness of it. And we do not want to clutter up our roads with sign after sign after sign after sign so that you have to see a sign that quick as you're driving by at 45 miles an hour. So we're going to do more graphics. We're working on doing better examples for the new sign standards, and hopefully it will help our businesses, because that really is what the sign standard is all about, is helping people look at signage in a different way than just, those are the letters of my business. So we're working on that and hope to have that as well at the same time that we do the master plan.
Bill, can I ask a question on that? So how far would you go on something like that? You're talking about like public art, and I'll give you the example. In Whitfield, Virginia, there's downtown, inner downtown, they have this gigantic pencil from this one building, goes back years and years from when there was a pencil factory there or whatever. And then another place they had like, it was a paint company and they had a big paint can that kind of like, I mean, would you entertain things like that? Because it's,
Absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely.
Because it's very unique. It stands out. It's not, I mean, it could be gaudy if you let it get out of hand, but I mean,
it's iconic. It's
yeah,
what identifies you or that business to that
right.
town. We had a hardware store in one of the cities that I worked in. We had a hardware store that had a life-size horse on the roof or on the awning of the building. The CRA paid to have it refurbished because that was an iconic sign in the city. So I'm trying to get businesses to create their own pencil or their own can, paint can, so that we can have some iconic signs. That's really the idea behind it.
Can I ask a question? Thank you for bringing this up because this is on my list. So I really would like us to think about updating some of the design standards, because there's a huge difference of if you're downtown and you're driving past at 5 miles an hour and you have this little window. But these standalone businesses that are out here, it's a whole different ball game. We cannot, it doesn't feel right to hold that to, you can only do this little teeny window. So I'm hoping that you can
Well, now,
rethink this.
I will tell you, the city's ordinance says 25% of the window, only 25% can be covered, but the CRA says it has to be at the top or the bottom.
And I get that. So here's the catch with, like, if you have a business that has windows on 3 sides, they choose not to put anything on 2 sides. Does it tell us that it needs to be written out? Can they use the 25%?
And I agree with you. I think it needs to be clearer.
So,
and
yeah.
we need to, again, push that out and let people read it and be educated by it, and let us answer those questions.
Well, this is, you know that this is the biggest pushback that I get. I get emails every time, when I was at the chamber, the same thing, trying to justify the standards that we have in the CRA as opposed to other places. So I'm just hoping that you can revisit some of this and look at it in the business's point of view, that when you're traveling down 301 and they're going 35 and 40 miles an hour, they really do not have the time to look at things like they do other places. So I'm just hoping that we can.
But we are working on it.
Okay.
We are working on it.
I appreciate that, because it's a big issue.
And then the last thing I have is staff is working on the grants for Zephyr Park. We are hoping to bring back some money on that as well. So we'll keep you updated as we move through that process.
Okay.
And that's all I have for my report.
Right,
Can
thank
I
you.
ask,
Yeah,
one more
yeah.
question? I understand that this CRA has been set up to be only council members on that, but I really would like you to think about adding some residents, some local business owners to this CRA board. Other CRA boards have that, where you do have that all inclusive and it's not, and it's looked at in a different way. So I just would like to have you ponder that. And I know that you like it this way. I get it, but I don't know if it's.
Not necessarily, and a lot of CRAs have an advisory board that are made up of businesses and residents that provide input to the CRA board or the council, just for that reason.
I just would like you to ponder that and maybe bring the pros and cons of what that would mean, because I feel like at times our business owners are not represented in the way that I feel like they should be represented. And I felt that for a
And-
number of years.
And
So-
Mayor, if there is something that you think that staff needs to do, please share it with me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I just, it's the one pushback that I get constantly. And I don't have answers. If I don't have an answer, then that makes it difficult.
You know, I would say, and I have no problem with that thought. In fact, I think I brought it up to you in the past. But, you know, business leaders need to reach out to all of us. And I never hear from any of them. They never.
Oh,
come
I
to-
do.
They never, well, they need to reach out to all of us.
Yeah, okay.
And I never see them at meetings either. And I go to chamber meetings, I go to chamber breakfast, I go to all these meetings, and I'm available. We're all available here, and very few people come. So I think, you know, if you put them on a board, are they going to be effective? Are they going to show up? I don't know. So,
Our
I
other
mean-
boards work. They seem to work in the city.
well,
where
I
we
just
have
think
a
it's got to be a
mixture.
two-way street.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
I just don't see too many reaching out. And if they just reach out to one person, they're not being effective, because you're hearing things that the rest of us aren't hearing. And no one reaches out to me about signs or composition or any of these other things. So I just think it,
A lot of, man, a lot of the businesses do reach out to me. Usually it's a complaint about something and I always try to help the best I can. And usually we get it resolved quite quickly. But I mean, it might be a good idea, possibly a board made up of local businesses to come in and be at our meetings too. I mean, we're dealing with things that are going to affect them and the way they run their companies. So I'm
kind of
all,
what that's kind of what the chamber is too.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just a
my
thought.
opinion, but.
And we have our Main Street Director.
Okay. You have 30 seconds.
I think it's all good. You know what? I can talk fast. So, first and foremost, hello, everyone. I just wanted to go over a couple of brief points. First and foremost, give a theater update. We have signed the contract with KMF Architects, and we are working with staff to do a presentation at an upcoming CRA meeting. So stay tuned. Main Street Madness recap. We had our first Friday night event of the season this past weekend. Thanks for everyone who came out. I did see a lot of smiling faces out there. It's one of those things that we got people downtown on Friday night, which has been, you know, at talking to the merchants and businesses of the district. It's been something that they have asked for. And also it allowed us not to have to close the streets off on a Saturday. So there are some important things that came from it. It was our first wet zone event in about, I think, a little bit over 3 years. And there was no incidents thanks to the ZPD and their input. And it was just a good event. A few hundred people came out, and we think that if we could be more a little consistent with that type of event, that it can lead to some promising opportunities. ABC Action News recap. Hopefully everybody got to see that. It was great response, really good press and marketing. Thanks to our public information officer for assisting in that regard. And a lot of the businesses got some great looks, and we've already got some requests. So if they ever come back, I think there's some other businesses that would like to be involved. And then lastly, we have completed our internships with our current classes from St. Leo and USF. And we were able to go on campus last week as kind of like a finalization and do a Bulls market. And I have a video from that kind of shows what it was like. And for the sake of time, I made sure it went really fast so you can't even see what's happening. No, I'm joking. but we were able to broadcast and talk about our upcoming market that we were having the following, this is on a Wednesday. We had that Friday. And one of the best things was that some of the students that were there actually showed up to the event. So I was very excited, and I'll post some pictures of the students that came. But I thought it was really cool for us to be on USF campus, which is the middle of, or in the heartbeat of Tampa. Well, we got some of those individuals to come downtown Zephyrhills. And so that's what these events are all about. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Oh, you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. My board and I are very excited about what's to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, any other comments or anybody? Nope. Okay. We're adjourned. Thank you. Here you go.
Wait for her to come back over.
Probably 5 minutes.
As
What
well.
watch is that?
It's a guest one.
I've never seen it. It's pretty cool. With the different dials. There's one.
Yeah, they don't really do anything. They move these little
It
things
looks like it's pretty
around.
old.
It is. I've had it a while. I just got a new watch.
They used to have like a Civic Plus.
If you ever need another one.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Where?
Boyd's Jeweler next to the Publix.
And then, yeah, Ivan will
How
go.
about the buy that?
Oh, I went to the one, I go to Brandon.
Oh, yeah, Brandon, they're okay.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Turn that on. Well, it was just messing me up. I was gonna punch in my thing. I tried.
Oh, no.
Oh, did I not put that right?
No, he did.
No wonder it was.
I just hate for her to come over if she's coming from home.
Oh, no worries. I've got everything I need.
He has the paper packet. No.
New coming in, they don't understand yet. You know, the problem that we have is people do not know that they are renting in a CRA. They don't understand that from the start.
Most of it's not that different. Most of it's not that different. I mean, some of the fencing and some, the whole idea is to improve the area. But, I mean, we can't, we,
Here's the catch, you got to get
oh,
everybody
okay.
to sign by, but we got 20 businesses that are.
Well, you go after the others.
I don't want businesses who are fighting just.
I'm not worried about it. I got everything I need. Thank you.
Oh, you're wrong. Oh, they up there.
Well, why aren't they telling them? We'll have to find out why they don't tell them all. I mean, it's just like somebody comes in here and they want to put up a chain link fence. Well, we don't let you don't want chain link fences anymore in different places. So you have to, I mean, it's incremental, I guess, but you have to try to upgrade, and otherwise we never get the look we want. I've never heard that we have 20 businesses in the CRA that aren't complying with something. Well, they're supposed to be at the top of the bottom.
But they're both top, bottom, and middle.
Oh, well,
Is that, you talking about like on their windows?
But I'm saying that I don't want them penalized when they've been able to do it for 2 years because I opened my mouth, right? I don't want this business.
But why are they being permitted that way?
Thank you. I've been
What's that?
going to Billy. He changed it.
Mine's messed up. I'm gonna try to change it.
That's fine. I'm up and running.
Is that how, that's all?
That's how I, yeah. No, I got the whole agenda here. That's all I
So
need.
you don't need
I got them right here.
okay, so you're okay with the way that is? Because there's that agenda package.
That's how what I got. Down here. Isn't that how you do
Yeah, I
it?
think he's got everything.
See, I,
Kenny likes that. Program. You're
oh,
just on the.
I just go to the website. Huh?
You hit that.
The default,
You mean there's a better way?
Then X out of it. No, I mean, if you're fine with that. I mean,
hey, Miss Jackie, how are you, my dear? Good to see you. Thank you for giving me the invitation.
Hey, Jackie. Good. How are you? No.
You get him.
What I do is I just use this and then I fly down here when I need to go back.
Is that how you set mine up? When we do, mine will be set the same way. I'm
I
not
want
worried
to
about
see
it
what
now.
he comes up with. I mean, if it's better. But sometimes it is hard to go back and forth. But I keep a paper agenda out so I can go that
Yep.
way. He's got one right there. There is.
I don't know, it's gonna take this long. I don't have time.
Oh, now.
Yeah, I guess I'll have time. Thank you.
I'll ask. I gotta use the restroom. Okay. Come on, Mr. IT. What's in you? Do you need my laptop?
what's that?
Just want to hand me, my laptop. You can go through the agenda on that.
Oh, oh, is it, oh, you're.
It's at 5:30. Charlie's
Well,
taking.
Charlie
a
just
leak.
went to the
He's taking
bathroom.
a leak. He's ready to go.
Is it different than I do? I want to see how.
Oh, I just click on
I just-
Charlie's link.
I just go, yeah, I just go to the website or the link.
Lance has a way to go through.
He wants, Kenny wants the, like, where you agenda packet stuff.
Yeah, so you can either take it off of Ricardo's link, click on that, or you can go to,
I just go to the website.
or you go to the website, or you can
So
go
I want to see what
to
he's
the
doing
agenda.
different.
No, he doesn't use it, so.
Oh, CRA.
I still got, watch out, Charles ran away. Holy cow. I still gotta get, don't hurt yourself. There's no workers' comp.
There's not?
Not for you.
This is performance your own risk. Performance your own risk. I wanted to.
I'm sorry.
I think we talked, but you watched outside. I started watching them about middle of the
Kenny, you
season
ready?
when they played Tennessee and beat them by 30.
All right. Get your
Yeah.
seat.
Bunch of
I want to
overachievers,
see
you
how you
know.
do yours, because this is what I do. I just get it off the agenda. Or off the consent.
Good evening, everybody.
I just-
Welcome to the regular city council meeting. It's Monday, April 28th, 2025. It is 5:45 PM. If you all could silence your phones during the meeting, that would be great. And could I have the roll call?
Yes, sir. Charles Proctor,
Here.
Steven Spina,
Here.
Lance Smith, Jody Wilkerson, Kenneth Burgess,
Here.
Mayor Munson,
Here.
William Poe. Here. Matthew Maggard.
All right. Tonight for the invocation, we're going to have Miss Jackie give the invitation tonight, and then we'll have the pledge.
Thank you. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you with gratitude. We thank you, Lord, for making each of us and every citizen of this city in your own image, with dignity and infinite worth. We thank you for calling us and giving us, every one of us, to be stewards over your creation, to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Father, we thank you tonight for these, your servants, our mayor, our city manager, our city council members, and our city staff, for giving thanks for the services they have chosen to take up on behalf of all of us. Help us, Lord, to trust you more than our fears, more than our wounds, even our own accomplishments. May we lean on your understanding and wisdom tonight. God, in your word, you make clear your expectation for those who sit in places of authority. In Psalm 72, you said, endow the king with your justice, O God, the royal son with your righteousness. May he judge your people in righteousness, your afflicted ones with justice. May he defend the afflicted among the people and save the children of the needy. May he crush the oppressor. Father, we remember those in authority are first and foremost your servants, that honoring you and doing your will is their highest purpose. So we pray that you will be glorified here in this meeting tonight, Father, for the decisions of this council. We pray that they will have ears to hear and patience and kindness as they listen and answer every question precisely. May your truth be revealed. May your light shine brighter. May the voices of these, your people, be silenced, Lord God, to be heard loud and clear. Defend their cause, oh God, through this governing body tonight. We pray for your wisdom. We pray for strength. We pray for courage to be do and to be able to do what is right for all citizens. May we put the interests of others above our own, and may we act in love for the commandment of good. May we be good neighbors, recognizing your image, Lord God, that is in every person here in this place. In the holy and matchless name of Jesus, we pray. May your perfect love set us all free. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. All right, thank you, Miss Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie.
We really appreciate that. And now we will move on to the mayor.
We're going to start with a proclamation for Advent Health. So-
Mayor, excuse me.
Yes.
I messed
Yep.
up already.
All right.
Do we have anyone signed up for citizens' comments?
Yes, sir, I do. I have first Phyllis Purvis.
If you would state your name and address for the record, please.
Hey, guys, I'm Phyllis Purvis.
You can pull that down.
Thank you.
There you go.
I'm Phyllis Purvis. I think you guys know me by first name by now. And I saw them and I was like, they're not for me, are they? I mean,
No,
I'm gonna
no,
be-
you're okay.
I appreciate them. I thought they would go before me. I have a couple items, so I'm going to try and keep it really quick and short. I brought this and I was going to ask if that could be passed out. Just, we're not staying to the timeline that was promised, and these things are all recorded. I'm a retired court reporter, so I've been in here before as a court reporter. Basically, my commercial zoning was supposed to come. It was supposed to be timely. It was supposed to be in short order. I get dismissed a lot by Mr. Vandenberg, and I just kind of get put on the back burner. And you'll see I only printed a couple pages, but on page 1 it just says, I had to get, city council member involved. I have to CC the city manager. I try to keep everything in writing. And I just feel like we're really being discriminated against at landowners. There is a Landowner Protection Act that is supposed to not let us have discrimination against us because we don't have deep pockets to hire attorneys. I don't have pockets to hire, land use attorneys. So basically, if you look at the first page, it basically is one of the city council members saying, when are we going to do this? Or me saying, when are we going to do this? And it was only supposed to be in short order, a couple of months. And I'm sure Mr. Vandenberg can answer to this. He just spoke to me. And then I finally get that response to a city council member, not to myself. I'm not okay with December. I'm not okay with December. That is not what was discussed for my zoning. It was supposed to be in short order, a couple of months. And we all know with government, I'm sorry, but in November, December, things just shut down. So when I see December, I see 2026, and I'm not okay with that. And so I wanted you guys to be well aware of that. There are a couple other things that I just want to address as like a resident. And I feel like, I truly, truly feel like I'm the farm north of Publix and Lowe's, right? I feel like the city limits stop at Cossack. I just feel like completely ignored and abandoned out there because nobody pays attention to us. Nobody wants to help us develop. That country cottage thing, I think it's north of Lowe's, and there's Bill Nice Piece on the corner, and right next to it used to be the cottages. It's a dump. And I told you guys that last time. Like, how am I supposed to sell property as a realtor when there's like sofas and stuff out there, and there's a realtor sign? Call and make them clean it up, please. Call the county, do something. It's horrible, makes you look bad. It's just gross to drive into town and see it like that. I'm just being honest. And then, okay, so D.R. Horton, my family's lot number 5, which was supposed to be an assisted living, but now it flooded and that all fell through. That's not happening. So we got that the hurricane that flooded everything. Well, now that lot 5, whoever owns it, I don't own it, but can't develop on it because D.R. Horton was allowed to put in some kind of blockage. Everybody knows about it because the water always flowed down into D.R. Horton, into that subdivision Abbott behind us. And now that property's flooded because it doesn't go over what they built. So I don't really think that's too cool. The other thing that D.R. Horton has done, there's a couple things that they've done. I'm sorry.
You're good.
There's just items that I'm trying to go over with you. The other thing is when D.R. Horton built, and I know this because I was at these meetings, they were supposed to have a street that went from Cossack all the way through to Otis Allen. And don't ask me, I saw it happen.
It's still on the plans. That's still on the plans.
Yeah, but they put that massive Duke Energy thing there, that big pole right in the, okay.
That's been the issue.
But I'm just saying, so here's the other thing. I live up on the hill, right? So I can see right down. They are literally building houses. They have their little sections that they build and build and build. They just put up houses that touch our property. And when it touches our property, how are you going to bring dairy through? Because that's somebody's backyard. Are you going to take our land? Because you should see it. You're welcome to come up on my property and see it, because they have houses that are in construction that are literally, their backyard is touching the property line. They put up a privacy fence. And when you put up the privacy fence, there's like their privacy fence, somebody's backyard and our property. So when somebody gets ready to take the land and do Dairy Road that's supposed to go all the way through, I just think you should have a conversation with them while it's under construction. I just think that should be addressed. It's not my thing, but I'm just telling you. And then I think that's pretty much it for me. I think that's it. But I just, I do want you to be aware of what I'm going through, and I'm not okay with it.
Well, thank you for coming. Billy, do you have anything to say?
Well, you did contact the county about the trash pile, their code enforcement, didn't you? I mean,
Right.
you reported back that you did, so,
Right. We did reach out to the county.
okay. And
Again,
they,
that property's in the county, so I don't know
Those
what their
homes that are being
process
built
is.
through the county?
no,
The homes are being built in the city. The cottages, the complaint about the cottages,
Yeah.
that was reported to Pasco County and code enforcement. I don't have an update on where that is and where that is in the counties.
Okay.
So, well, I'll just say that I'm not really happy with this schedule either, her timetable. So we can maybe talk about it.
Good evening, Todd Vandenberg, Planning Director. I spoke briefly with Ms. Purvis prior to the meeting, and I've also talked with our planning consultant, Tammy Brianna, that we're working with on this new future land use element that we propose to bring through the process. It's a compilation of the recent meeting that we had with the Planning Commission and City Council to try to work with these property owners in the creation of new future land use element that we think is going to provide for some additional opportunities that we versus what they have right now. So Ms. Purvis had reached out to me. I provided a timetable. It was about 4 or 5 months, and we showed in that email that I sent to her a November, December timetable. I did speak with our planning consultant today. I think we've got a couple months in there that we could push things along a little quicker, and that's what I talked with our planning consultant today. And some of those things that we feel like we can do while we're completing the future land use draft element. And I spoke with Ms. Purvis about this today. We could go ahead and schedule meetings with the property owners. And she even brought up that maybe we do a Zoom call with her family and maybe even some of the other property owners where we could make more efficient time of that process of meeting with the property owners, gathering their input and just trying to see what their thoughts and ideas are for what they're thinking, and then see how that aligns with the visioning process that we went through and what we're trying to create in this area of the city with the vision. So I think we can shave some time off, and that's what I talked about today with our planning consultant. So I think as we're continuing to work on the draft language of this new future land use element and the criteria and language and the uses, all those things that we talked about in our meeting, we'll go ahead and schedule those meetings, and I'll work with Phyllis on that to get that set up, whether it's I'm happy meeting in person with these people, or if it's more convenient for the property owners to do it virtually, and that probably be a little more efficient too. We're happy to do that. So we're moving the process along. The next steps after we get the information from the property owners, we finalize the draft of the new future land use element, take it before planning commission and then city council. And then of course, we send a comp plan amendment up to the state, and they give their blessing, and then we do a final adoption public hearing. So that's the steps of the process.
Go ahead.
When do you do the PUD? We talked about doing a PUD so that some of the uses would be restricted there.
Yeah, that's what we talked about in the visioning, as you all know, is that with the new future land use element, we came up with even a name of that. But then, we'd ask the property owners to apply for a PUD that'd be consistent with the vision. And that's something, once we're comfortable with the language of the new future land use element, that folks could begin applying for that, working through that process. Yeah, the intent was that is to identify uses that we as a city, planning commission staff, the council are comfortable with. And again, I think, what we're trying to do is provide more opportunities for a mix of uses and versus what the multifamily that they have right now. So, that's what council asked us to do. So we're going through that process of creating the new future land use element and be a PUD zoning, and with the intent of meeting the vision statements that we talked about in the visioning. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Todd.
Other questions?
Yeah, can you address the Dairy Road extension that she was talking about? Where was that
Yeah.
property, where was that right of way supposed to be coming from?
Well, the Dairy Road, yeah, we're working with Kimley Horn right now on a route alignment study. So that's being reviewed. The Wire Ranch Townhomes that we also took through the process shows a right of way for that Dairy Road extension all the way to the north end of this planning area we're talking about. And the retention actually would be provided by the Wire Ranch Townhomes for the section of the Dairy Road extension that abuts that Wire Ranch Townhomes. So that's in the works right now.
I think the question was the right of way.
Well,
Was any of it coming from the Abbott Square or Abbott?
So we
whichever-
need to look at it. If you look at on the property appraiser, the lots are platted. There's 68 feet from the back of the lots that are being developed to the property line. And that 68 feet is owned by the CDD. So there's going to be a combination of taking land or getting land from the CDD and then the property owners along that, along the west side. But there is, and we're going to go out and look at it to see where they're planning that or constructing that fence. If it's along the property line where it should be, there should be about 68 feet from the fence to the property line. Unless Lennar or whoever's DR Horton is developing or building a fence closer to or further west than they should be. So we'll review that.
Well, can we look into that to make sure that they're?
We'll
where
look.
they're
I have a
supposed to
note.
be?
We'll look at it tomorrow.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
It's just not realistic for my family to have to do individual meetings. My uncle is now 87 years old and he's elderly. So he can't come in person. He just can't. And so what I was going to do, I have a Zoom account. So, and I represent the majority of these people, these landowners. I know what they want. I know what you guys want. I know what I want. I want the same thing. None of us are going to bring you customers. I mean, I know you're going to put it in writing, but none of us are going to bring you clients that are going, or purchasers that are going to want to put a smoke shop or something stupid up there. It's not going to happen. It's not going to come from me. And I'm the one that's pretty much in charge of all that. So, I mean, you can at least have that comfort. But yeah, as far as the DR Horton thing, the fence is there and those houses are
Well,
there and it looks
they will
really
definitely look
super
into that
tight.
for you, and I'm sure the city manager will
Well,
get
I'm
back.
just saying it's none of that has nothing to do with me, but I'm saying it's tight. It looks like you're going to wind up having to take land and they're under construction. But my other uncle, to go back to my piece, my one uncle's 87 and he's elderly. The other one lives in Alabama. My brother lives in Stanahatchee. So I'm going to have to round everybody up. And if we could just do one meeting, a Zoom, I think that would be more beneficial. I could get them all the players in on it.
Well, I'm sure the staff will try to work with you on that. Thank you. Thank you, Todd. Do we have any other person signed up for the city for citizens' comments?
Yes, sir. I have Vicky Wiggins.
Get your name and address for the record, please. ma'am.
Vicki Wiggins, 38550 Fifth Avenue.
Thank
I
you.
just want to give you some announcements because I see that it's hospital week that is on the thing. So next week, coincidentally, Advent Health is having their ribbon cutting at their new health and rehab center, which is the old wellness building on Wednesday. It's at 11:15 is the actual ribbon cutting, but I believe the event runs from 11 to 1 because they're serving lunch after. So you're welcome to come to that. That's a public event. And then on Thursday is our business breakfast at Golden Corral at 7 a.m. on Thursday. And we are actually invited Marcy, I can never pronounce her last name right, Esberg, who is the new disaster recovery director. And she is going to talk about the $585 million that Pasco County was just granted in disaster funds. So if you have any interest in learning more about that, then breakfast is where you want to be. And then on Friday of next week.
1 minute, Ms. Vicky, for the record, Councilwoman Wilkerson showed up at 6:04. Thank you.
No problem. And then on Friday, we have SNR Services, which is our neighbor here over at Executive Suites, is having their ribbon cutting at noon. So you all are welcome to that as well. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we can keep you busy. And then we did adjust the date for the annual celebration. Will be held on August 28th at Dan Cannon Auditorium from 6 to 9 p.m. So put that on your calendars. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else signed up?
No, sir, I don't have anyone else signed up.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council at this time? Seeing none, we will move forward to the mayors.
Okay. We'll have our hospital team come on up to the front with me. Come here. How's it going?
That's fine. I don't like the camera. Hi, Lisa. Good to see you.
All right, so we have a proclamation for Advent Health for Hospital Week. Whereas the Advent Health Zephyrhills team, consisting of more than 1,000 physicians, nurses, and staff, delivers unparalleled, consistent health care, which includes clinical expertise in cardiology, emergency care, surgical services, Yep, OB, there you go. Neurosurgery, stroke care, rehabilitation, imaging, laboratory, wound care, diabetes, and women's services. And whereas Advent Health Zephyrhills has been a steadfast pillar of healthcare excellence in our community for 40 years, providing compassionate care, innovative treatments, and unwavering support to individuals and families in our community. And whereas Advent Health Zephyrhills has been recognized with an A hospital safety grade from the Leapfrog Group, a national nonprofit watchdog that sets standards for excellence in patient care. And whereas U.S. News and World Report, the global authority in hospital rankings, and Consumer Advice has named Advent Health Zephyrhills as a 2025 high-performing hospital in 7 specialties, including heart attack, maternity care, diabetes, and heart failure. Whereas Hospital Week provides an annual opportunity for individuals and communities to express gratitude, appreciation, and support for healthcare professionals, recognizing their tireless efforts and profound impact on the lives of others. And now, therefore, I, Melanie Barr Monson, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Zephyrhills, Florida, do hereby proclaim the week of May 11th through 17th, 2025 as Hospital Week in Zephyrhills, and ask all residents to join us in honoring the healthcare heroes who care for our community every day. In witness whereof I have unto set my hand and caused to be affixed the official seal of the city of Zephyrhills, Pasco County, Florida, on this 12th day of May, 2025. Thank you, guys.
I'm a fanatic. You guys probably are too.
All right. Members of the council, Mayor, thank you so very much for the opportunity to partner with you as a member of this community. The hospital is celebrating 40 years of service as the hospital on the hill, and we're just so proud to be a part of this community. And on behalf of the team here, as well as all of our clinicians, physicians, providers at the hospital, just thank you for your support. And we want to continue for the next 40 years to be a great community partner with you. And so as the CEO of the hospital, I just, on behalf of our team, thank you for your support and for this honor tonight, Mayor. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you for all you do. We appreciate you. All right, next we have our homelessness update, and Chief Brewer will be doing that. You may have to center that again, unless you want to be closer to me.
Good evening, Chief Brewer, Zephyrhills Police Department. So tonight, what I'd like to do is just kind of give you an update on homelessness and some of the challenges and some of the things that we've accomplished by trying to help get us out of seeing homeless within our community. So It does include both the Zephyrhills Police Department and the CHIPS organization. So just an introduction, homelessness is a complex issue that necessitates a multifaceted response. I don't know why I put that up there and make it difficult to speak, but law enforcement plays a crucial role. It needs to do so with compassion and effectiveness. Balancing public safety with the rights of homeless individuals is crucial. These are just some key facts about homelessness, just kind of give you an idea that it's not isolated to Zephyrhills. Challenges of law enforcement is lack of resources, which we certainly see here over on the east side of the county, and I would say Pasco County in general. Distinguishing between crime and survival behavior. Obviously, when we come in contact with individuals, we're trying to make that determination. Do they need help, or are they committing crimes, and do we need to make some sort of an arrest or law enforcement effort? Balancing enforcement with humanitarian assistance and building trust with the homeless community, which is some of the reason why we have our homeless liaison, and has been very effective with building that trust. Policing homelessness. Some of the effective intervention and best practices is community policing, which we have made a commitment on doing. Crisis intervention, partnerships with our resources, such as the hospital, daycare, and outreach and engagement. We've done a pretty good job of getting partners to help us with outreach, but that is still an ongoing struggle. Getting people in the community to see if we can get them to those resources. So best practices for law enforcement is training in trauma-informed care, establish homeless outreach units, which we have done, collaborating with mental health professionals, which we have done, and creating alternatives to arrest, which we have certainly done. So our community response team was established in 2023, utilizing one officer, which was Officer Healy, to handle issues associated with homelessness. Our CRT is now a 3-officer unit, assuming multiple responsibilities, such as homeless outreach, coordination with CHIPS and other social services, follow up on risk protection orders and doing threat assessments, CPTED reviews and follow up, mental health and substance abuse treatment referrals, and follow up community engagement and town hall events, which we did our first one on Saturday, which I thought was pretty successful. And directed enforcement of traffic infractions, ordinance violations, and applicable state statutes. This is my unit here, which consists of Officer Seth Healy, Officer Victoria Stevens, and Officer Heather Triplett. And they've been a couple weeks now working as a unit, and can't wait for what lies ahead for that unit. So since Seth kind of took over, I just want to give you a quick rundown of some of the statistics that we've had just dealing with the homelessness. And these stats do not include time spent developing relationships, coordinating referrals, or investigations related to anything homeless. So we've had a total of 218 service calls, 177 individual contacts for service referrals, and that could be as simple as actually sitting down, doing an assessment and trying to get them to a long-term facility, or it's just handing out a pamphlet and giving them information on where they can seek the services they may need. Seth has had 12 placements in long-term treatment facilities, and I think you said there was only 4 that returned with
2 that have returned.
2 have returned.
Or I had to direct transport the others we were able to coordinate.
Okay. He's committed 15 involuntary examinations, which means those contacts resulted in those individuals being in crisis, and making sure that we got them mental health help. He's also made, of course, not everything is related to referrals, but we do have to take some sort of law enforcement action every once in a while. He has made 22 arrests. He's had 79 city ordinance warnings or citations. He's disbanded 33 camps or houses, and the number of occupants in those houses or camps has been 197. So clearly this has been, he's been busy. So kind of transitioning from what the community response team is doing to the Community Hope and Intervention Project, which is housed out of the police department, but is obviously a non-for-profit. But it's meant to kind of be a bridge between us and the community. So it's a prevention program that helps reduce social instability by providing support before problems escalate. The purpose behind CHIPS is a community nonprofit prepared to meet crucial needs in Zephyrhills and neighboring areas, which was incorporated in 2023, but we've been meeting since 2020. We offer phone, virtual, and in-person consultations dedicated to help residents explore the best solutions, assisting and connecting individuals to substance abuse and mental health treatment, and helping with emergency access to shelter, which is somewhat scarce. We aim to prevent homelessness by providing financial support when funding is available. We work to facilitate family reunification, and that's usually one of the first things we try to do, but unfortunately, a lot of times, because of the situation they're in, families either don't want to take them or just don't have the means to help out. We are a Pasco County Homeless Coalition Continuum of Care member, which means we use the Homeless Management Information System to track community assistance history and connect individuals with additional resources if they're needed. This is the board of directors, myself, Beth Aker, Nathan Brewer, Don Anderson, and Becky Finley. And our CHIPS coordinator, who's a licensed clinical social worker, Kathy McKenzie, who's here tonight. Probably this will be her first official introduction to you all, but she's got over 20 years of experience in social work, known for her compassion and dedicated professionalism, patient listening skills, and strong sense of empathy. Her extreme commitment to clients has made her a trusted advocate, and she's very resourceful, able to build long-lasting relationships with local organizations, and allowing her to be effective connecting individuals, families to those resources and support. Some of the things that, so Kathy has been with us, I think, just about a year now. First few months was really a transition of how are we going to help? How's that going to look? Kathy's schedule, that type of stuff. But so we have taken some steps in trying to keep people out of homelessness, and that's really what we're trying to do. So we, based on when she started actually issuing assistance, CHIPS has funded just under $4,000, and that's through the pot of money that is either generated from the money that the city has given or donations, and that on top of regular operating funds is what we've been using. We are also part of the Homeless Coalition issues us challenge grant funding, which essentially is Kathy will sit down and see who needs rent assistance or other type of assistance. And a lot of times they will actually qualify for challenge grant funding through the coalition. But we're kind of like the arm of the coalition to make that, facilitate that exchange. So we have, through the challenge grant funding, we have provided just under $20,000 and a total of $23,000 just between healthcare, motel vouchers, rental assistance, transportation, and utilities. So Kathy is a part-time employee, dedicated 2 days, and responds as needed. And I can tell you she responds way more than her time in the office. She probably doesn't even tell me about all the time she gets phone calls from police department. Just kind of a breakdown of the amount of calls that she deals with. November of 2024, there was 95 and outgoing 118. Obviously, we saw right after the holidays, we had a lot more incoming and outgoing phone calls, and it started to trickle back a little bit, but we're not seeing much change. She's very busy and honestly probably doesn't have the time to dedicate to all of the phone calls that she gets. Just some quick stats. Numbers are not based on qualified for financial assistance, but so the number of clients that received financial assistance from us were 69. Percentage of disabled adults was 42. Percentage that suffered from a chronic health condition was 26. Percentage that were not chronically homeless was 88. And I wanted to point that out because the people that we are helping are the ones that are really just falling on hard times, and they are not the same individuals that you're seeing out here that may have issues with substance abuse. These are people that, for whatever reason, they're down on their luck, and they're living out of their cars, and they're living on the streets or in tents. And of household income, 99% of it has been 40,000 or less. We've helped a lot of our people that we've assisted has been females, obviously a lot of single mothers. We see a lot of that. And then living out of their cars seems to be a very frequent occurrence. So we envision a centralized, accessible hub. We originally called it the hub, to help point people in the right direction that struggle with poverty and homelessness. And also the conditions that are associated with homelessness, such as substance abuse and mental illness. Our objective is to simplify the process. I've always said that we can bring law enforcement in to help guide them to those resources, but they just don't have the time and dedication or the experience to get them into these programs. And that's really where Kathy comes in. And of course, we want to provide emergency shelter and transitional housing, mental health crisis intervention services, substance abuse rehabilitation resources, legal aid, financial aid, and social services, and then employment training, job placement, financial literacy, which is some of the stuff that some of the gaps that we've recognized over the past year. So service gaps, scarce bed and shelter, inconvenient locations for available services, transportation, employment training, job placement, and financial literacy. We can help them all we want financially, but if they don't have the guidance to help keep them out of those conditions, it's pretty futile. One thing I through this process, I really wanted to try to quantify Kathy. And I spent a lot of time trying to find ways to kind of show you what she does. And it's difficult because she does spend a lot of time just spending time with clients. But at 2 o'clock this afternoon, I got an email that I'd like to read that I think kind of sums up what the program is about. This is from a woman that we've helped. She said, "I'm a single mom of 2 amazing boys. Since losing my grandmother and my fiance of 8 years, it has been me and my boys. I struggled financially for years to provide them with everything, but I always found a way, even if it meant me not eating that night. After 4 years of being alone and solely focused on raising my boys, I reunited with someone I met in college years before. However, months later, the abuse began, and my world began to crumble. My mental health was spiraling due to the constant fear and the anxiety of not knowing what each day would bring. Soon to follow was the pandemic. I was furloughed and a month later laid off from my longstanding healthcare position. Being out of work and stuck at home, I was slowly shutting down as the abuse intensified. I did everything I could to protect my children from not knowing, but they watched as their strong, resilient mom began to crash. I finally broke free from the physical abuse, but the emotional effects lingered for almost 4 years. I felt worthless and that I had failed my children. I was broken, but I kept fighting for my kids. I went back to nursing school and was working 4 jobs, but my physical health was beginning to deteriorate. After many visits to ER and specialists, I was later diagnosed with uterine cancer. I had no health insurance and struggled to make medical bills. While recovering from treatment and trying to maintain financially, Hurricane Hilton struck. I was out of work for 9 days. Due to the back rent and medical bills, I could not keep up financially, and my landlord did not renew my lease. With nowhere to go, I began living in my car with my dog and sent my youngest son to live with his dad. I had finally hit rock bottom. There were several nights where I'd sit in the cold, contemplate whether it would be better off if I wasn't here anymore. Then, during one of my hospital visits, I was provided with a phone number from an organization named CHIPS. I contacted Kathy, and that is when my life began to change. When she met with me, it was the first time I didn't feel alone. She got me and my dog out of the cold for almost after 2 months of being out on the streets. I finally had a warm bed to sleep in and regained hope that I had once lost. Kathy gave me a second chance. Frankly, she saved my life. I do not know if I would still be standing here today if it was not for her kindness and compassion to help me. She fought for me and my son. She believed in me, and most importantly, I began to believe in myself. She stood by my side and never gave up on me. 4 months later, I have a beautiful apartment, living with my son again. I'm so grateful for Kathy and the CHIPS program. They are the reason I have been able to see the light through the darkness. Thank you all for what you have done for me and my son, but most important, thank you for giving my life back. Kathy will always be my angel. I do want to bring Kathy up just so that she can answer any questions.
If you could state your name and address for the record, ma'am.
Hi, Kathy McKenzie. My address is 1821 Cypress Preserve Drive.
Thank you.
Thank you. So it is my absolute honor to be a part of this program. And the young lady we were talking about is a nurse, and I actually got referred and supported her through Advent. And the chaplain there and I worked together to get her off the streets and out of the car with Molly, the lab. And so without Advent's support back and forth, we couldn't have done it. So that was a huge, huge help. As a school social worker, it's very important to know where the resources are for families. And so when I became a social worker here in Zephyrhills, that's part of how I landed into this position, because I couldn't find what I needed for my families, and I really wanted solutions. And now after a year of partnering with a lot of people and being a part of this amazing team, I have solutions. And that's a pretty great way to start the day, is knowing that I can start linking people and listening to their stories, and oftentimes have some solid ways to point them in the right direction, those that really want it. And they do. So many of them sincerely just want somebody to listen. And I can't tell you how many times a day I have somebody say to me, "You answered the phone." Yeah, that's what I do. You called me back like a couple different times. And I'm like, "Yep." So thank you for that. And thank you for all the support that you guys give this project. So.
Thank you,
Kathy.
We really appreciate it.
So, Kathy, stay up here for a minute. Yeah, Kathy has been instrumental I've called her many a times. I shouldn't probably call when it's not your day. I didn't know I had certain days, sorry, but she answers the phone. She's immediately ready to help and support, and she's been a great asset to our community. And you guys over there, I know what you're doing is very difficult, but thank you for trying to do it with compassion and caring. And it shows, it really is showing. And Miss Beth, I know that this has been a passion of yours forever. And thank you for not giving up, for keep pushing till we got it right. And I think we have it right. So thank you guys for supporting this. I know it's been a big deal.
Well, that email was very, very touching. You know, if we can help one person like that, everything's worth it. I mean, to take a lady that was living in her car and get her a place to live, and it's amazing. I'm so proud of the CHIPS organization and what you've done, Chief, and with Officer Healy. And I mean, there's so many people to thank. Miss Beth, I know you've been working for years with the homeless, and I'm proud of the fact that the city tries to do what we can. And maybe we need to do a little more, hopefully. But I just wanted to thank you all. Anybody else?
I would just like to say that, would you stand up, Beth, so
Yes.
we can kind of recognize you? Uh, I'm just, I guess, proud that we have a police chief that said, you know, homelessness always lands in law enforcement's laps, and we can do it in a better way, that it's not just punitive. And that's the team that he, with Beth, has helped build here, so that we're helping people that are less fortunate, and we're not punitive. And it shows. I rode with Seth the other day to see kind of some of the things that he sees and how he talks. And I saw him interact with homeless people. He knew their names. He knew where they were from. Um, and he gave insights into what they're doing. So, you know, I would encourage you all to take a ride, but just thank you, because I think it started here and you've built a very strong, compassionate team. So.
Well, I can tell you, Beth and I were, kind of the catalyst, but it is really a community-driven organization. If you come to the CHIPS meetings, and I told you this, I don't have to do anything. They're so passionate about helping people that I just sit back and watch them interact and try to find ways to help people.
They're from the county, they're from the Catholic Church, they're from food banks, they're from all over, so that they're not duplicating what everybody's doing. They're joining forces so they can bring different aspects to the table. So anyway.
Sure.
Beth Aker, 9744 US Highway 301. I'm not sure if Chief Brewer had the opportunity to share with you that Dade City has reached out to him because they want to know what the city of Zephyrhills is doing. And so I am so proud of him. This has been a baby of his, and I'm just honored to tag along behind him because we are making a difference. And one person or two or three, it doesn't matter. This team here is amazing. And Chief Brewer, the compassion that you see resides deep within these people, and they're really making a difference for your community. So thank you for supporting him.
You. Yes.
Oops.
Yes. So, Ms. Aker, before you go away, I want to ask each of you a question. So a lot of times, most of our community don't see this. They don't see the homelessness. They don't, because they're not lying around on the benches in downtown. Sometimes they are, but often it's a condition of shame. It's a situation where people are hiding from, from a situation where they don't want to be discovered. There have been mornings that I've gone to my Rotary meeting over at the depot, and it's 6:30 in the morning, and there's a car in the parking lot, and there's someone sleeping there, and they rotate around. So the question I have for you is, what is one thing that people of this community can do to help you in your efforts? If you could think of just one thing that that will help folks.
I know from my standpoint is, I think they need to be educated. I think there's a perception out there, a very, how should I say this? Not well-informed perception of homelessness. And I would just say, I mean, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to accomplish this, but one of the things that we've said is we need to educate the public. We need to let them know that not everybody's the intoxicated guy sitting on the park bench. But even if they were, you got to understand that how did they get there? And that's what we're doing is, yeah, maybe they don't want to get out of homelessness, but we're still making contact with them. And maybe that day will come and they say, you know what? I'm done being like this. So I do think if I could ask anything from residents is be open-minded.
Thank you. Oh, they each of them get to make a statement.
I would also say education. We often hear, and I know many of you are on social media, and the rhetoric that goes on about homelessness is the negativity.
Yes.
And unfortunately, what we see, and we all recognize the mental health crisis that is across the United States, the addictions, the drug abuse, those sorts of things are just plummeting our society. And we need to address what the core of that is. And so education goes a long way. We post out there all the time about our CHIPS meetings and the people that can come to our meetings and just really be educated. We have speakers every month that really just want to tell people what's going on in our community and the resources that are out there. So often we would ask that you talk to your neighbors and help them understand if they're not seeing what the truth is, just help them understand there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes before they become homeless. So it would be education for me as well.
It's really hard to narrow it down to one thing. But yeah, I definitely want to emphasize both what Chief Brewer and Beth have said. But also the isolation that I'm seeing a lot of our older population and disabled population comes to mind. They don't have the support system. I'd love to see more of the Meals on Wheels type of situations, mentoring. They need more than just the financial piece of it. They really need people to get involved and mentor. So
thank you. That's great.
Smith.
Yes, I just want to thank every one of you for the jobs y'all do. I mean, it takes a compassionate person to do that. And I know y'all care deeply about the person, all of you. And I appreciate it. Chief, I appreciate this because years before, just like Councilman Spina said, this was something where we take the person to the county line and tell them beat it, Well, that doesn't help when we realize that.
I can tell you there's still that attitude. But we've basically said we're not going to do that.
And honestly, it's not, I mean, it's a city problem, but it's a county problem, it's a state problem, and it's a national problem.
Exactly.
And it's going to take us working with those groups to come up with, I'm not even going to say a solution, just a better issue for it. We prepare a budget every year. Y'all think about what needs to be in our budget to help y'all, okay? Because that's what we do. And if we can allocate some dollars towards this and help people just like that email was, I think that's a great use of our money. So
I can tell
because
you,
those folks are residents too. Yeah.
We want Kathy to come full time. So, and I can tell you the money that the city has given has basically paid for her to be out here and doing this. We have applied for a grant, hoping to hear about that probably sometime next month, maybe. That will fund the program for a couple of years. That's the hope, not only to take care of Kathy full time, but also to add some additional employees. So
I just get your list together, prioritize it, and we'll do as much as we can. I know everybody sitting up here will do as much as we can, as well as the staff. But I think you're doing a great job. And I'll tell you something. I called Derek. We opened up Hercules, and I saw some person sitting early one morning on a bench. So I texted him and said, "Hey, what's this?"
Then I found out it was a lady and her daughter or her child that was homeless that was there. And my first instinct was like, here's somebody homeless in our new park. It changed totally for me when I was like, I shouldn't be like that. I need to be educated just like anybody else. There's a story that's somebody's son or daughter. That's their dad or mom. And I just need to think in that context. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for opening my eyes some too.
Thank you. It's very well put. If it weren't for God's grace, any one of us could be in that same position. So we definitely need to be more aware. And Officer Healy, do you have anything you'd like to add real quick?
Collaboration, community. Raise your hand. There's been.
Hey, Jessica.
A community member who suffered homelessness. She's been locating people. She's been helping clean up after them. She's been helping. Amazing job for the last several months. And she's been an active part of our community that goes unrecognized. So.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions?
I don't have any questions. That's it. There it goes. Yeah, congratulations. As Councilman Smith said, this is every city, every county, every state, every country in the world since the beginning of time. So we recognize that you're not going to solve the problem. Oh, it's going to be with us. But the things that you're doing are definitely helping. I was reading this, the percentage that we're not chronically homeless, but like 88% that you're dealing with. So I think that's where it really needs to be attacked, is from there, what you guys are doing. So I think it's doing a great job, and, continue on. And hopefully someday you can bring a success story to us. Like, you said you had someone in, maybe a drug rehab or something like that, and that they're off the streets and they're all cleaned up and everything. Maybe someday we can see one of those success stories.
I know we have some. I just don't know what they're willing to come up.
Willing to come in. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Is there anything else?
Well, I think one of the questions I was one of the things that I was sort of hoping to hear from the group, and that is that we have these service gaps, scarce bed and shelter space, inconvenient locations for available service, transportation, and employment training. So is there an action plan for reaching out to people who have these resources that might be willing to donate or collaborate with the homeless?
So I can tell you that as far as job placement and skills, what's the name of that organization that's been coming to our meetings? Well, we've got AM Skills.
AM Skills.
AM Skills, right.
Okay.
To CHIPS this coming month.
Right. And as far as, what was the other one? Yeah. But the transportation, obviously the new transfer station will certainly help. But a lot of it is transportation to those resource facilities. And we're still trying to figure that out, whether it's, again, and I'm just spitballing, but Uber or a taxi or whatever. We have been doing a majority of the transports. That's not really what I want to use my law enforcement staff for. So I'd like to try to find other ways, but at the same time, I don't want to, if we have an opportunity to get somebody to help, and that window is very small, we want to get them.
Yeah. And we could, businesses could donate cards, transport cards for the bus system.
Right.
It's just an ask, really.
Okay.
And you work with Baycare. They
We do.
partner with you
Yeah.
on mental health issues.
Yep.
You work with you mentioned that the Homeless Coalition or Continuum of Care, which is providing a lot of funding, and they're very interested. They're mostly housed in West Patsko, but they are very interested in helping here, and their representatives come to the meetings, the CHIP meetings, and are providing funding and support. So I think in 1 year, what they've done,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yes.
And as far as getting the resources over here, I can tell you that the coalition kind of had a sigh of relief of, my God, there's somebody over here on the east side. And I just think that our placement, our being here will wake people up to get it over on the east side. Because honestly, the coalition has been relying on us solely to kind of fill those services that they can't provide for. I think they'll come. I think just doing what we're doing, the resources will come.
And working with Dade City, like Beth said, they have a group there, like CHIPS, they call it community conversations. And they invited Chief up and one of their, to talk about what CHIPS was doing. And one of their objectives was power and people. There's more people here now working for the same thing. They can help the county and do the same thing. So you planted the seed.
Thank you,
Thank
Chief.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
Chief.
you for the great presentation. Madam Mayor, I think you have one more
I
item.
think the last thing we have is our CPH update. Todd, are you introducing or somebody? And we're just having them come up. I didn't catch your name and I apologize.
John Lindsay with CPH.
John. Okay.
So thank you, Council, for having us here today. John Lindsay with CPH. I'm here with my colleague, Nick Gendel from CPH, as well as construction managers at risk at AD Morgan. So we were asked to come to this meeting tonight to just give you an update on the Public Works campus improvements. And so we'll do that accordingly. I think you want to start a meeting? Yeah, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. So, we
State your name and address for
my
the
name's
record, please.
Nick Jindal, CPH. My address is 1442 Chelsea Manor Circle. So, we were here about a year exactly, almost exactly a year ago in front of you guys to present on this project. So we wanted to kind of go through where our progress is of the project itself, the updates on the design, and then updates on the cost for you as well. So we've done our program verification. That was kind of just our first step of looking at the original study, going out and actually looking at the facilities and what the status of repairs or issues may be with the individual buildings, talking to the different stakeholders, looking at that needs analysis and so forth. After that, we went through design, going through 30%, roughly about 60%. And then, the construction manager was brought on and they did a first level estimate. And then we did a value engineering session around that so far. So that's kind of where we're at. We're still going to be doing more design and value engineering through the whole process because we still have 90% and 100% design left to go. And so we're really at that point in trying to identify where it is that you go forward with the project overall to get to a specific budget for you. So the program update itself, we'll go through each one of these buildings. There is, after all of that verification and looking at the different buildings and what you have, you do have some buildings that weren't originally addressed in your original needs assessment, such as E and H, which we'll talk about, and P, which is the sanitation vehicle bay cover. So that's all included in that the price that we'll show you a little bit later. But we did reduce the admin building down significantly from 14,360 square feet through some of the design processes that we had showed you guys. And we did do the mezzanine and different things to try to, things that if you did later on that you had in that needs would cost you almost double than what you would pay doing it all at one time. So we'll walk through each one of those, and then our plan is to actually talk through the original estimate and then the update from there. I'll turn that over to John to talk through each building.
Sure, thank you. So the first building we'll be discussing is the administration building, which is building A. As Nick pointed out, this building was originally programmed at 14,360 square feet, and we were able to tighten up the footprint, reduce the size of the building significantly, and is currently at 13,557 square feet. And that was primarily through working through some efficiencies on the floor plan. The current cost of this building is $6.9 million. And through some VE opportunities, we've recognized the ability to get it down to $6.2 million That would primarily be, instead of using a CMU building that we're showing in the elevation currently, it'd be switched to a metal building, pre-engineered metal building. So it looks significantly different. If you have any questions about these, please stop me. Otherwise, I'll go to the next building.
Yeah, I have a question. I guess I'll stop you. So you're saying that you trimmed about, well, maybe 1,000 square feet and to 6.9, but it'd be 6.2 if it's metal?
That's right. So
The whole building would be metal, the facade and front, everything?
right. It would look more like an industrial building than the commercial building we have here.
I guess I just want to ask you one question up front. When we met with you last year and went through the process, we had a plan for the design that was about $19 million. And at that time, you said that you could design it down and reduce that to about 16 million, I believe, you said at that time.
Right.
How did we get up to 27 million?
So you want to just drop to the slide.
So I think I'll go to that cost slide because we had that up here from the original presentation. So we were still at 19.7. We did show some value engineering to that, and I think it was about a 3 million reduction, like you're saying. So a problem with that was removing expansion H, and so when we looked at the building quality, it's deteriorated to where you have to actually do that project. And then there were a couple other things that we had looked at removing that you just actually cannot remove based on the program verification that we did. So when we actually looked at the buildings and then we talked to the staff, like your expansion H, you could still probably leave out, but your building's deteriorated at this point. You have to do some improvements to it, whether you do it now or you do it in 2 to 3 years. And so we're looking at like, what's that cost benefit for you at the end of the day in terms of if you do this and then you spend all this money and then you pay for mobilization again in 3 years, by the time you're done with construction, it's 2 years and you only have a year, then you're now having to budget again. So what we're really kind of at is saying, okay, we need to kind of look at this as a phased plan. And so what we've been talking to staff about is maybe doing it as bid alternates. And so here's the base bid of what you actually need, like minimum, and then things that are alternates that we design to, and then say, okay, this isn't in the budget at this point, is how we plan to kind of go forward. Because we did also, when we showed you these costs, we had that note on here about the opinion of probable costs doesn't include soft costs, contingencies, or market escalations. And so, because we already thought your original study number was too low. It did include those costs in that study, but we put that note specifically because we don't think that study really did you justice in that cost. So
That's not what you said though when you were here. You said that you can save us $3 million.
Yeah.
You didn't say their study wasn't a real price or a solid price. You told us you could cut 3 million.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to go from, what is the construction of building A, the administration
Yeah.
building? What is that
So
construction? Is it all brick or?
It's concrete masonry.
Yeah.
Block.
block construction.
Concrete block?
Mhm.
Right, but to go to metal, that only saves $700,000.
Yeah, and we actually don't recommend doing that, honestly. Because you'll get more longevity out of the CMU than you would out of the metal building. Especially with it being somewhere where your staff is going to stand through emergencies and doing emergency operations. We actually do not recommend changing that to metal building. But I think where we're at really is so the when we looked at let's see. So these are the buildings we're identifying that we still have some value engineering to do. So we're still going through that process. We're not at a 90% or 100%. So we're still trying to figure out what can we continue to cut, or phase. That's kind of where we're at in terms of, okay, we looked at that original plan. We've done the verification of needs. We've gone through the stakeholder, coordination. So now it's like, what else can we really cut? And it's what are you not going to build essentially, as part of that plan? Because like some of these things like P, E and F and H, maybe those are our future improvements as opposed to current improvements. So we are still in that process of saying, how do we get that reduction? It's not like this is a set in stone. We just need to know, like, with staff, what is the number we need to actually hit, with the project budget total. Because realistically, if you're looking at, A, K, and L, keeping those, the admin building at the 6.9, you're already at about 12, 13, about $14 million between those two buildings. So, what else is really needed to get to that budget, or what's the flatline budget we need to be at? And we'll work backwards from there, at the end of the day.
Thank you. What does the 13,000 square feet in admin really provide? It's 2-story.
It's one story.
It's one story?
Single story, yeah.
It has, yeah, okay. So what does it have in it, Shane? Is it public works, utility, just public works?
Yeah. So it's got the locker rooms, the offices, training room. Yeah.
So primarily offices with some common areas to support the utilities and the public works functions.
I would be totally against a metal building.
Yeah. I just can't understand why, when you all came here, you were all excited. You were going to save us a bunch of money. What's changed that it's so much? And I understand you all looked at the project ahead of time and you saw everything that you had to do. I just don't understand. You were going to lower the cost, but now you're coming back and it's a lot more. So it's quite disappointing, actually. But
And we're still working towards trying to figure out more cost savings. Again, I think understanding exactly where we need to be on that budget at this point, and then we can start looking at what buildings we can cut in terms of the final design, or doing those as alternate bids. Because if the bids come in more favorable, the 80 Morgan crew has been working really hard with getting those pricing, the initial pricing done at the 60%. They said they had some of the highest participation in getting those bids. So, the market escalations the prices are still going up, but we still have control over what we build. We're not at 100%. Again, we're at that ripe time and saying, hey, what do we need to really do? And, our goal is to sit down on another value engineering session with your team and say, what is it that needs to be an alternate, and what actually needs to be on that base bid.
well, for me, I definitely don't want to see us build it cheaper. We live in Florida, for goodness sakes. I can't see building that out of metal. I'd rather it be block. And that's initially what it was supposed to be, correct?
I think your original plan was block, or?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I have some questions. So let's just talk a little bit about when you came to meet with the city originally, you had been provided with a written program, is that correct? And you had a preliminary design. Did it have elevations or anything like that? Did you have a preliminary floor plan of any kind? Okay. So how much has this administrative building, how much has it changed since, in terms of number of offices, amount of square footage, level of finish detail? How much has that changed since a year ago?
Well, I mean, it's as we pointed out earlier, the footprint is slightly smaller and some of the functions are a little bit different, but overall the same functions, the same types of spaces are still there. I think I think the differences beyond the square feet would be minimal. I think it's still fairly similar to where we were a year ago.
The elevation itself, there wasn't one, but it's very minimal design. When we kind of look at just stucco with a small band at the bottom.
The front, which is nice, but one of the things I noticed is that there's why are the ceilings so high? I mean, right now the building is the administrative building is 8 feet high or its ceilings or something like that. It looks like we have this volume of space, 2-story space, that's more expensive to build. It's more expensive to heat and cool. It's a lot of material and space above the grid that isn't even being used. So
there is a rather tall parapet on this one that we could reduce. That we've actually, that's one of the value engineering opportunities that we've identified. And then if you look at the elevation, you can see that the line that comes down about 4 feet from the top of the parapet, that's where the roof plane would be. And so there's probably not much ceiling height within the building because we do need the space to run, ductwork, as you know, and whatnot between it and the final ceiling height, which I believe we have is 9 feet, which we could make it a foot smaller if we wanted to go.
well, that's 9 feet is fine. It's just the elevation.
Right.
Building is a lot.
Right. It's a rather high parapet. We could reduce the parapet. That would. I
think it would be.
What we had is that parapet reduction, but that was one of the value engineering.
Other thing is that but we also want to make scale wise for all the buildings around it, 18 feet tall. And is it going to look like this little squatty building next to the bigger spaces? Is that what the concept was for making it taller?
Yeah, the concept was we wanted to make sure that we were just adequately hiding the slope on the roof, and also we did want to give it a little bit of more presence on the facade, so that's why we made it a little bit taller.
Roof, so that kind of helps conceal from the air, airplanes that are landing and things at the airport. Okay.
But like I said, I think we can find some value from reducing that.
Yeah, and some of the other ideas that we've been working on with the AD Morgan team, that like we're getting rid of the brick overall even and just doing stucco all the way down. So that there are still, things that we're working on like that.
Fortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. Bless you.
Yes.
On slide 9, is this the cost of what you presented back at originally in a comparison to what you're saying that it's going to be now? I just had a clarifying question. I apologize.
Yeah, so slide 8 is what we presented to you guys originally. And then we had that note down there. So slide 9 is just that same one with the addition of P, E, and F, and then adding in the soft costs and contingencies on a rough estimate. So that's actually not the estimate from AD Morgan. That's actually just taking what I presented to you guys, adding in those soft costs, and then adding in those P, E, and F to both, original. So taking that study, see it ended at H. So then I added P, E, and F, which are the ones that were additions that weren't in that original needs assessment. And then, so I just did those numbers and then added the soft costs on top of that. But the slide 10 is actually the estimate without soft costs from AD Morgan. And then the slide 11 is actually their full in 60% estimate so far. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. President. Sorry, Councilman Wilkerson. I just wanted to make sure I was following along right.
The construction contingency of 10% is $2 million.
Yes.
Okay. And then the design contingency is another $2 million.
Yeah, I mean, it's just 10% of the same number.
What is that design content?
It really is like, okay, well, like what are the things that you may change during the design process that may increase your cost or lower your cost? So typically you have a consultant use a 15% contingency, especially in this market, they're using honestly 15 to 20. We put in 10 because there was already 10 in the construction contingency. So we don't want to put another 15 or 20 on that.
And so that was any changes that come along and that
during the design process.
That's changes that the city elects to make.
Correct.
So different changes, you want upgrades and things. Yeah. So theoretically, without any of those, these contingencies, they can go away without being spent theoretically.
Well, it sounds like they're already spending the analysis, this value engineering option, all of that. Isn't that costing the city additional dollars as you go through this process to reduce the cost?
From our end, our value engineering is part of our meetings we had already planned, so there's no extra cost. It's just it's
For
part of the
design
process.
fees.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Because until we get numbers, we don't know what we need to cut, right? This is the first time we've seen numbers, and so this is, and I will tell you, they've been great at like actually providing even their own VE. They went through everything. They provided a column of, hey, here's where you could cut. We had calls on that, and then you have, does that change design or not? Like for instance, changing to the pre-engineered metal building for the admin building, we have to do basically a short order redesign of that. So that's actually what that EWA you'd seen was to try to change it to a pre-engineered metal building. But if you guys want to talk about,
Sure. Good evening, council. Thank you for the
Could you
opportunity.
state your name?
Sorry, Matt DiMatteo, AD Morgan, 9126 Cypress Key Lane. And with me is Jeremy Warner, our chief estimator and director of pre-construction.
Hi, Jeremy Warner. My address is 9019 Sienna Moss Lane.
Thank you.
So back to our process. So we got involved during the design development phase a little bit earlier than that. Jumped right in with the 60% plans. We took those plans to market. That's part of our process as, advisors and guiding, on cost and constructability. We issued the plans to over 500 different subcontract trade partners throughout the region that we work with on a regular basis. We got very good participation in all the major cost driving categories right now. We're seeing those. Well, number one is your structure, the concrete, your MEPs, your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems, roofing, windows, glazing, things like that. So we had very good participation. So those are actual costs from our trade partners back to us, their opinion of cost for the project. And through doing that, we work proactively with CPH in developing value engineering options. We've broken down every building into its own individual compartmentalized cost bucket so that we know where to look and how to identify anomalies or areas where prices may not look consistent with what the market should be, as well as provide us the opportunity as we move forward to identify buildings as potential alternate bid items or pieces of scope as alternate bid items so that we can quickly adjust what the total end dollar value of the project will be. So at this point, we've generated approximately 40 value engineering options worth approximately $4 million worth of savings to the project. And as a team, we've been discussing those options and what should we select, what we should not select. But that's kind of where we are at this point.
Well, I think what really triggered this was getting an invoice for change and a potential change from the concrete building to the metal building. And was it $60,000 or something to
like 40,
48? Oh, I mean, that got our attention. But, so if you have all these other changes, 40 different changes resulting in $4 million, has that been reviewed by the staff yet?
It's been a team effort, and I think you touched on what I was going to say is that I think the total of 28 million is what kind of everyone was like, holy cow. But really the cost is 4 million. The increase is 4 million from the original 17 to the 21 because the other are soft costs, which were not included in. And I don't know that.
Why did we not? I mean, we know what percentage, the architectural fees should be, and we know what the percentage of CM is. And I don't know why that never got, honestly, I thought that was in the original budget.
I don't have an answer for that.
So we knew we were going to do a CM at risk and that we were going to, do pre-construction to help us get the cost in line. Yeah, and I'm surprised, but there's no question that there's value in that process. You know, the other thing is that you could hard bid to all the subs, and you know that's instead of a negotiated
And
situation.
that's what we do. So when we get to the 90 or 100% drawing phase, right now at design development, we're not ready yet because the plans don't have the detailing to get the sharpest pricing in the market, and really facilitate that. If you wanted to GMP at this phase, you could, but that would require a much larger contingency and many more unknowns. So we're going to get to the 90 or 100% drawing phase, and that's when we competitively bid. We don't negotiate with subcontractors. We competitively bid, and we look for 4 to 5 bidders per category, and then we'll select the lowest, most qualified bidder, most often chosen by price. Because number one, they need to meet the safety criteria. Generally, they're pre-qualified up front, but their bid has to be complete. They're leveled and scoped and made sure to have, you know, a Loctite price, so that
All
there's no
that's
change
transparent.
orders.
You share that with staff and all that kind of stuff, right?
I'm sorry.
All of that's transparent, and you share it with staff, right?
Yes, that's correct. We open bids generally together.
Mhm.
We'll open them, you know, for tennis center, we open them together upstairs in the conference room. Everything's 100% transparent.
Councilman.
Yeah. Is there any savings, and maybe it's not because it's not really that tall of walls, but instead of the CMUs to go with the tilt wall construction, is there any advantage to that savings?
I'll let Jeremy chime in, but tilt wall, you don't recognize the cost efficiencies of tilt wall until about 25 or 30,000 square feet. Right now with the building A, our new admin building, we're about 13,000 feet.
So that's what I was going to ask because of the, and you said that the height is not as much as with the parapet wall, which is not really part of the entire building, that then it probably wouldn't be the same. My biggest concern, and we're looking at value engineering, we're talking about reducing square footage. One of the things that this project is supposed to take us so we can expand into it, it should last us 40, 50 years, we're hoping. And my concern is if we look into value engineer and we take away from that kind of thing, we're just going to be down the road adding on to something later on. So I'd like to find other ways than just strictly reducing the size of the buildings. And I know staff, I mean, there's certain things you guys have kind of need and have needed for a while. And I hate for you guys to not get those, whatever buildings they may be. So, and I know you're working with the staff on it. So hopefully you guys dig in if you have to on what you need, so that we don't. In other words, we want to be able to grow into this building instead of grow out of it.
All right, I have another question. I didn't understand something. So the price with the soft cost is 28 million.
Our current cost estimate is the 27.9, inclusive of all soft costs.
What is
that was our design
construction number? What are the numbers for sticks and bricks?
So sticks and bricks, did you
20,000.
say it was the
20?
The 2104, the 21040.
And this does include the FF&E, so it includes the furniture and fixtures and all of that equipment. So it's not just buildings, it's also all things in the buildings, the furniture for the offices, everything.
If we look at the percentage of soft costs based on not furnishings, because the furnishings is a separate contract that's paid directly through the city, right? You don't coordinate the furniture installation. You don't coordinate furniture installation and all that, right?
That's in there, right?
We did that with City Hall too.
Okay.
So, all right, the hard costs are 21 million.
Right.
The soft cost is about 7 million. We'll just round it out.
But yes.
7.5 on this.
6.
And then 6 million of that, well, 4 million is contingency. You said you've shaved off, or you have area where we could save 4 million. Is that included in the 21 million? That's down to the 21?
That is not the value engineered number, no, sir.
So the 21 million could be
as designed. That is getting everything that CPH has drawn as it is. The 4 million in value engineering concepts are not reflected in these numbers.
For example, one of the VEs was to go from the CMU to PMB, which was what started the whole conversation here. And that was about a $350,000, yeah, about a $350,000 savings if we went from block to metal building. This is still to have a block building and not a metal building.
Right, so the 4 million, we're not picking up those options, then we're at the 21, obviously.
Well, I guess, so I only showed you guys at this point for this meeting, just where we were before we actually, because we still have to go through the exercise of saying, what is it that, staff's willing to cut and stuff like that. So we're not done with that process yet. So we're not working on any more design right now. We're trying to figure out what it is that will be alternate bid or what will stay, what will change to metal building. That was kind of the direction we were given, was to go ahead and change the admin building to engineered metal building to try to get that cost down. But we're, other than that, we still have to go through that. So we haven't subtracted that yet, but that is, it's about 4 million in savings we've worked through in terms of conversations, like removing the brick, doing stucco all the way down, other little things like that too, that we've been.
Well, stucco and brick are one thing, but brick or block and metal are another thing. So has staff reviewed the $4 million in potential cuts? And are there anything in there that you would recommend or that we should know before? How?
Yes. That you should know before moving forward. I'm trying to look at Shane and John. Nothing is like jumps out at me. The biggest one, in my opinion, was changing from CMU to PMB. That was the biggest, I think, impact to the development. The others kind of added up again, and it was things like, okay, we're not putting brick on the building. We're going to do stucco and some accents, things like that. I think we reduced the size of the mezzanines maybe a little bit. Right.
Right now, the staff has accepted about $1 million of reduction in the
And that reduced, that's where we're at with the 21 then, the 21 million, or that would be 20 million?
This is pre-value engineering.
So with the building itself, we're right about 21 million. The soft costs are about 7 million, but those don't change really. Those are pretty, I mean, they'll go down a percentage a little bit if the price goes down, but not a lot.
Councilman Smith?
Yes, thank you. Thank y'all for coming out tonight too. And at the outset of this, I was very concerned and voiced my concern about not having an overall budget and a means to pay for it. And I'm still there. If I'm building a house, my wife and I, she might want 10,000 square foot, but maybe we can afford 1,000 square foot. So and I'm not saying it's long needed. This is a long needed building, but there's other stuff going on in the city, and we have to establish a means to pay for it. I mean, to me, I just think we went at it backwards. I think we should have had a budget established and let y'all work within the budget rather than having carte blanche. This is our needs, and now we have to back off of them. So that's where I'm at. I mean, until I can see the way we're going to pay for something, I'm not going to vote to move forward with anything. And, and that's my way of saying, figure out how we're paying for it. And that's no reflection on you, none at all, because I think you're doing a fine job. So.
So I'm sort of in the same boat with you in that, if we talked about a budget up front and it didn't include soft costs and contingency, that was a terrible oversight. as far as I'm concerned, because really we needed an overall budget. And I really felt like that's what we were talking about early on. So, but we didn't have that level of detail that I recall. So, one of the things that I think it's important that we do a building that's hardened, because just like you said, there's going to be conditions, there's going to be situations where we have people in the administrative building, or at least people who are on site prepared to go out with generators and things like that immediately after a storm goes through. So if this is going to be a hardened building, the challenge with a pre-engineered metal building after 25 years is it starts looking very dated, it starts deteriorating, it starts getting rust, the systems don't operate as efficiently anymore. Whereas if we had a building that was worth renovating because it was made of, it was constructed of block, that might be that'd be a better investment long term for our taxpayer dollars. However, if we only have X number of dollars to spend, the only real solution to that is to phase the project. And I think that we got to know how we're going to pay for it. And then we pay for it, and then we can afford it, we build another phase, and we can afford it, we build another phase. Because 1,000 people a day are moving to Florida. Last year, 1,000 people moved to the city of Zephyrhills. That revenue, that ad valorem revenue is going up slowly over time. And that's how we have to count on being able to pay for all this stuff. So for me, that's my only input on that. I don't want us to cheap out. I want us to do the right thing. And you talk about removal of the brick. Well, you could make the stucco look like brick. I mean, that's not a terrible solution. You still get the aesthetic look that was originally conceived, but and that nod to the municipal language of the architectural language of the city architecture. But that would be eventually up to staff, I imagine. But for me, I think we've got to look at phasing it.
What do we have budgeted this year for us?
I believe we have the design budgeted $2 million. $2 million.
Just budgeted the design right now?
Correct.
And where is that on all this?
Design, yeah, design continue.
So the design cost is not anywhere on there because that was already part of our fee. So we didn't add that onto the numbers because that's not typically that's a separate budget, but that would be the additional then.
That's another additional.
Yeah, that you've already contracted us with.
It's 1.95.
1.95, yeah.
The overall budget went from 20, that includes 28, no, that does not include 28,118.72. That does not, 28 million doesn't.
So now we're at 30, we're at 30 million.
Yes, yeah.
I'm not good in math. All right, so, and you said here your, how long are you in the design? 65%. And that's with the building a smaller, admit building a smaller footprint.
Right, we designed originally to have 13,000 square feet, so it's inclusive of that square footage. But we have not addressed any of the VE opportunities that have been discovered so far.
In this design, you're not including building D, P, or F?
This includes everything that's shown on there. So everything D, P, E, and F is all in. This is like you're all in if you built everything at one phase as opposed to multiple phases.
You would design the whole thing and then we could phase it in from there.
Yes.
That's the intent.
So, And when do you think the design would be 100%? After you, I guess, and
Right.
narrow down a few other things.
Budget, and then, I mean, I think we have 2 months remaining on our schedule to get through the 100%. Yeah, if we were to give the green light.
My recommendation is we continue to move forward with the design. That's been budgeted. You have to move forward with the construction, you have to have documents. We move forward with the design, get that completed. Continue to work with finance to get the financial plan, the funding source. We had a conceptual plan, numbers bigger than what we had anticipated. So we need to revisit that. And at any point, once we have the plans, AD Morgan probably doesn't want to hear this, but we can always stop once we have the plans. We pay everybody so that everyone's made whole, and then the plans, unfortunately, go sit on the shelf if the funding's not in place. But I think stopping design and not moving forward at 60% plans is not the right move. I think we can at least continue through to get to 100% plans. And then if the funding source is there, we construct 100%. If it's not there, we make a decision. Do we stop at that point, or do we move forward in a phased approach and look what that implication is to the funding amounts or the cost?
I would be, personally, I would be against putting it on a shelf. I would want to figure out a phasing plan to where we do A, and then maybe John and Shane and Billy and get together and say, this is the order we do the rest. And then that'll cost more in the long run because prices will go up, especially now maybe, and all that. And that would give us a plan on, we can do a 5-year budget.
All right.
Well, within
You
that,
said the prices could go down as well, and I said I hope they do.
They have been. Private sector, there's pressure downward on.
Well, anyway, I'm saying that 5 years, we could do a phase-in plan.
Yeah.
Well, we have to kind of think about, our wants and our needs. That's the main thing, because just like you said, we can make something as fancy as we want it, and you can get like an idea in your head. Oh, we're going to have this nice break room. We're going to have all these kind of things. We got to remember it's a utility building, basically. Even the admin building will be, I know we're going to have some nice offices and so forth, but we got to really consider what are our wants, what are our needs, and and then we can phase it in from there. And I know we're kind of stuck because part of potentially what we need is going to go where the current admin building sits. So we have to definitely do the new admin building.
Right.
And so I guess it's gonna be up to you guys to figure out, like I said, how are we gonna work this phasing in process? Because that's the only way it's gonna work financially too.
Yeah, and I'll say, I think there's times that staff has cussed me, either not necessarily to my face, but they walked out of the room because we have cut. What's that? Because we have
We're
cut.
supposed to hear that. I said I saw it on Facebook.
Oh, because we have cut down some of the spaces, some of the meeting space, the training / break room. We've shrunk those things. There is. I think Councilman Burgess, you had mentioned about being able to grow into the building and not
Right,
grow
that's
out
what
of
I think
it.
is a big consideration of that, is to make sure that we're not underbuilding.
And there are open spaces. I want to say there's about 4 or 5 offices per side, public works, utilities in the admin building for growth. So that's all stuff that's there.
We
we haven't.
can look historically, proportionately how much we've grown based on population size, for example, and we should be able to determine what that real expansion rate probably is. And if we're currently, I don't know what the current size of the admin building is, but I think it's maybe 6,000 or 8,000 square feet. Is that right?
13 and a half.
Yeah, but it's not all.
Oh, the current,
The
sorry, the
current one out
current
there,
building.
but
I'm
it's
sorry,
half of it's a
misunderstood what you asked.
garage.
No,
And
yeah, that's what I'm
I
saying.
mean,
It's the admin space.
you have to be careful. We have to find a balance between wants and needs. You don't want to, if you're going to cut everything out, then go to the metal building and just be done with it. I think that, if you're going to build a concrete building and it's going to last for a long time, that we need to have, this building's 6 years old and we're out of office space now, and we built the larger floor plan.
We have a few more offices. We can split in half.
Some that need to be.
There's been some modifications to make more workstations and
Can-
things like that.
Can I ask one question? And I'm trying to pull this out. When we built this building here, there was a loan that you took out to do that, right, Steve? And that's paid for now.
No, it's
Not
paid
quite,
for
but
yet.
is it close? It's a year?
I knew you were going to
I
ask.
think it's
No,
a-
I think we're 4 or 5 years out still.
Oh, really? Okay. So I do know, I remember that when that finance director figured out a way to get that type of a loan for that. So,
So the thought was, and I'll just, when the number was 17, and that's kind of what we were looking at. We were looking at the penny for Pasco and the projections of those numbers coming in and having about 15 years, well, at that point, about 16 years of funding. So the thought was is that we could take those dollars, or a portion of those dollars, that would be our annual payments for the project, and that would be our funding source. Numbers have changed a little bit. And then also, as you're speaking about, the loan for here, that will roll off in a few years, and those funds can be utilized.
right.
So we have a plan, but we're having to pivot and reassess. So please don't think that staff just said, we're going to build this building. And I know you don't think that, but.
Oh, and I know the other thing too is that it's not just this project. It's Zephyr Park.
Right.
It's whatever other projects we have coming up. So I want to see a comprehensive plan of capital expenditures, how we're going to pay for it. Because what's going to happen is we're going to be handcuffed with something and need something else. And like, oh no, we don't
It
have
has
this.
to stop.
Or the rate will go up, which rates are, long-term rates are trending up right now. And I'd like to see it fairly detailed.
So we will get that for you. The conversation that I've had with the finance director and he's been pushing is how do we potentially bond this project along with Zephyr Park and any other
That's
park
smart.
improvements that we
Yes.
want to put together. And then here's our payment, our annual payment for the
Yes.
next 30 years or whatever,
Yep.
whatever the term is. So we're working on that. We will get that. Actually, as we're talking, he's
Speak of the
walking in,
devil.
I sent him a text and said, we need to get with Larson, who's the financial guy that we're using. We need to get with him and have a conversation. So,
And I knew you were, I wasn't, but I get a little nervous when it goes from 17 to 28 or whatever,
oh, we all
And then-
did, trust me.
And then I'm like, okay, well, that means that Zephyr Park will go from 12 million to 24 million, And then all of a sudden we've got 40 million that we're standing here with rates rising. We just want to, be good stewards, but we got to be, we want to get these guys need this because we haven't done it in
40 years.
We've promised this a
Ever.
long time.
So,
And the other thing about this project is it'll come out of 3 funds. It's
Right.
not general fund like
Right.
Zephyr Park is. So utilities, sanitation, and public, general fund will be paying for it. So
That helps.
that helps.
Yeah.
We'll get those, we will
There's-
get those percentages and those
Because there's
breakdowns. and
scientific
say-
data that supports the decisions that are being made. When you make a decision, when you do a program, it's based on historically how we've grown, what we think the population growth is going to be. It's not some pie in the sky, oh, we need 12 offices. How do you know that? Well, because based on our growth over the last 10 years, here's what's happened. And so I think if we, when we talk about doing program verification, I would think that's the work that you're doing. That's what I would be doing for my clients. And so I think that if we can feel good that we're doing the right thing and that we're designing the right size building, that it's right sized, that, and we have to deal with it over a period of time. We have to do it in phases, then that's what we have to do.
So kind of content, I'm sorry.
Can I add just real quick? I believe the breakdown is 60% general fund, 30% utility, and 10% sanitation. I think that's the percentage.
So the consensus, we're not voting on this, right?
No, it really was a
presentation.
So
I think the
there's not a vote.
consensus is complete the design, meet with staff and get to a reasonable thing, and then we'll have to then we'll have to, maybe you recommend with staff how to phase it, the phasing plan. And then you'll be doing the budget, and we're doing budget stuff now, so.
But to keep it as not a metal building, keep it as a hard.
Oh, I think we
Yes,
all agree on
absolutely.
that.
And you understood that
haircut
was
down a
their.
little bit.
Okay,
Don't ditch,
just want to make sure everybody understood that.
don't ditch all the
So
aesthetics.
have we got a consensus on what we want to do to move forward?
I think just, so what I'm hearing is continue to move forward with the design,
Yep.
get that completed, work on the value engineering. We'll continue to work on the financial,
Bill, would that
financial
include
plan.
putting it into a phase so that we would have different phase? Is that all going to be included in that?
So I think we'll work with the financial plan, see what we can fund, how much of it we can fund. And if we can do the whole thing, I would prefer to do it all at once.
Yes.
But like Councilman Smith said,
money-wise.
if we don't have the money, we don't have the money.
Right. Well, let me get that plan and
Well,
lay
he'll
that out,
bring
but that
that
will be part of the
back.
conversations is, what does it look like?
When would you have that?
One
for us?
phase construction.
Oh, when they're done.
I'll have to get that back to you. I don't have an answer for when I can get that back to you.
We'll have it
Or
during the
multi-phase
budget talks.
Yeah.
So we'll get a meeting scheduled, both with CPH and AD Morgan, and we'll go over everything that was discussed tonight, and then get a plan moving forward.
And just keep in mind, if we phase it in, and cost will be not what we see here.
Oh, yeah.
The change, that will change. So, we've got to look at this in a big comprehensive way. So thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. You guys
All
stood
right.
there forever.
We're going to move forward to the consent agenda items. We have 6 consent agenda items on the agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. Now we will move on to business item number 2.
Business item 2.1 is the second reading of ordinance 1497-24, ordinance of the city of Zephyrhills, Florida, relating to the comprehensive plan in accordance with chapter 163, part 2, Florida statutes, repealing and replacing the plan's transportation element, providing authority, providing purpose and intent, providing for adoption of amendments to certain elements of the comprehensive plan, repealing any conflicting provisions, providing for non-substantive modifications that may arise at public hearing or correction of scrivener errors, providing for severability and an effective date. This is a second reading. It's a public hearing. Todd can explain why it's on the.
Good evening, Todd Vandenberg, Planning Director. Probably a while back, you remember we redid the city's comprehensive plan, transportation and mobility element. The process is we take it through the local process, we transmit to the state of Florida, and we got feedback from them. They were good to go. So then we do the final adoption public hearing, and we transmit it back to final adoption public hearing. The ordinance, the copy of the advertisement goes into a portal. In this instance, we believe we put it into the portal, but something went awry, and then we heard back from the state saying that that something went wrong with when we inserted into the portal. So you got a 10-day timetable once the final adoption public hearing is done. So they contacted us. So they said what we need to do is to redo the ordinance on a final adoption public hearing. Nothing's changed with the transportation mobility element, but they required us to do that. So that's what we're doing. Have Carlos put it back into the system. I called the lady specifically and what to click and what not to click. So we'll make sure it gets done correctly. So that's what we're doing. Administratively.
So that's why we're doing it again.
Yes.
Okay. I appreciate that. I will open up the public hearing. Is there anyone signed up for this item?
No, sir, no one has signed up.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to item 2.1?
Council President, if I can, what was the last meeting date? The last meeting date when we heard this the first time?
Oh, it's about 2.5 months ago, I believe.
Okay.
In 24.
So what is it?
It was 2024, according to the number.
That was the first reading at least.
What I would request is that all the information that was provided at the original second hearing is made as part of the record tonight as public record.
How do you want me to word that?
Just what I just said. Sorry. I'm requesting that all the information that was provided during the original second hearing gets carried forward to this evening as a
Okay.
public record and entered into the record.
All right.
So moved.
All right. So no one wants to speak. I'm going to close the public hearing and I'll turn it over to the
Move it.
council.
Motion until public hearing is closed, sorry.
I would move the approval of this item contingent on what the city manager had said. We're bringing forward all the comments that were made during the public hearing, prior public hearing, second reading of this item.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Todd.
Let him do it.
Business item 2.2, resolution 850-25, resolution of the City Council of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, amending the schedule of fees for the rental of hangars and other fees connected to aviation and non-aviation services at the Zephyrhills Municipal Airport.
Good evening, Nathan
All right.
Coleman, Airport Director. We have currently reviewed our fees and we updated the fees. We got 9 increased, 2 changes, and 2 new. And in your packet, we have the current fee proposed and the change. So any questions with any of the fees?
Well, first of all, I think all the fees are definitely needed. They're not a very large increase, so I don't have any problems with them. Any discussion?
And Mr. Coleman did, and I'm sure the airport authority looked at this, and they went through the fees as well, didn't they?
Yeah, that was actually last year.
Okay.
So we're about 6 months, or about 6 months behind.
Okay. I'd move approval of this item if there's no further discussion.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Business item 2.3, resolution number 851-25, resolution of the City Council of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida, authorizing the City Council of the City of Zephyrhills, Florida to participate in a joint meeting of the Municipal Association of Pasco to discuss matters of mutual interest and providing for an effective date.
Council, this is a resolution so that you may attend the MAT meeting that's held May 1st in St. Leo. So
Mr.
Thursday
President,
evening.
I'd move approval of this item.
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously.
I think we have to have Mr. Coleman come back up and make another presentation to the city council. No, just kidding.
Don't think so.
Yeah, he ate that. Come on up, John.
Utility Director's report.
Yes, good evening. John Bostic, Utilities Director for the City of Zephyrhills. In front of you, you have a request for approval of a change order. Number 1 to U.S. Water in the amount of $134,516.56. These, excuse me, this change order is for 4 additional days for additional air release valves on the water mains, a horizontal directional drill under 301, and to remove a tree to install that water main and connect to the Palm Grove Drive water line project. They're requesting 14 additional days for that, and 1 additional fire hydrant, which we field located at the time, which wasn't in the original plans, and that would request another 1 additional day also. So like I said, the total cost is $134,516.56 with 19 additional days requested. And have any questions?
Mr. President.
Councilman Smith?
There was a savings on another project that we're paying for with this, right? Okay.
There's no negative impact.
Okay. I'd move approval of this item.
To the
I have a
budget.
question,
Go ahead.
if I could first. How are they going under 301? I don't understand that.
The boring machine.
Well, I know, but I mean, they're coming from,
It's just north of that tires, what's that, Bob's Tire Center down there? Is it the one on the right side as you're heading south? Right?
Jim's.
Oh, it's not Jim's, it's Dade City.
but the whole project's not on the east side. It's coming from the west and the east?
It goes under 301 from east to west. Or
From
west
east?
whatever direction
Bob's,
it's
the
at.
tire place is on the west.
Yes, it's going
Must be
west
west to east then.
and then connecting on Palm Grove Drive, which is just north of their
Well, they
entire
didn't know
place.
that had to come across 301 when they bid for it?
No, we had another project that Kilbrew Construction was doing for us. They were doing the Palm Grove Drive project. We originally had that in their costs, and their cost for that directional drill was like 180,000 or something along that line. Due to timing, US Water was already down there doing the directional drills, and they gave us a cost of, I think it was 111,000 to do the work. So that actually saved us a lot of $70,000 plus or minus to do the directional drill this way through US Water instead of Killebrew.
I have a, do you have anything else?
I don't.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
Is there? Yeah, I think I seconded, but do you have any concerns? What is?
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
just, so this
Maybe I missed
project
it.
was all on the east side of 301.
No, the whole
And the
project-
Palm Grove was from the south side, or were there two separate
Two
projects?
separate projects, yes. Palm Grove Drive is totally separate from this project. US Water is doing the water and wastewater on the south side of the city for us. And this is involved with, it's actually both sides, east and west side. Water's on more so of the, whatever direction that is over that way.
East.
Yeah, and then the west side is mainly the
This
sewer
is the
side.
east.
John, the Killebrew project is being reduced by 180,
It's approximately 180. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but it's close to that.
and the
I understand. I'm not worried about the.
U.S. Water's increase is increasing by 111.
Directional drill, yes.
Right. So it's a net $70,000 decrease between the two projects. Okay. All right. That's what-
I'm not worried about the price as much as I don't understand how, when they went to bid, they wouldn't know they had to cross 301. That's what I don't understand.
Because we already had a project in line with Killebrew to do the Palm Grove Drive project and connect from the west side to the east side of 301. Directional drill there. They had that price included in their project. But due to the timing of their project getting started and US Water already being down there with their directional drill equipment, we can get it done at a better time and plus.
Quicker and cheaper.
Okay, so they're not doing the one job's being stopped and this is going to substitute for it to get that there.
No, Killerbrew's still going to do their Palm Grove Drive project up to a certain point. From the directional, from that point, the directional drill is going to be done by US Water, not Killebrew.
But it was included in Kilmer's original bid.
Yes, ma'am.
Now they're backing that out of their contract with you. US is going to add to their contract. So that's what we're approving is the add to their contract, but there's no net gain there's no net loss on the budget because
Oh, absolutely not.
because the money was basically, it's a housekeeping, you're moving.
So you don't have, you're taking, the savings is from the Kilburn not doing it.
Correct. Yeah. So we had
Okay.
Project A and Project B. Project B bid the directional drill. And now we're saying, okay, Project B, we don't want you to do it any longer. We're going to give it to Project A. They gave us a price and it was lower and quicker. So we're shifting those funds from B to A.
Answer.
Yeah.
It's one of those rare.
Dennis' question. What?
You do that?
Yeah, I think we can do that. Yeah.
It's just one of those rare occasions where something actually worked out in our favor as
Yes.
far as like
Yeah.
getting
So,
something done.
The reason it wasn't in the original bid is because they were going to connect to Killebrew's already across. They were would have done it there, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Either way, it was going to get done. It was where the money, who the money is going to, and that just changed.
Yes.
Any more questions? I have a motion on the table.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. George. The finance director's report.
Ted Beeson, Finance Director for the city. We've asked you to consider, we would like to go ahead and increase the amount of money paid to Carlisle Thompson from $60,000 to $100,000. We are trying to recover our FEMA claims from Hurricane Milton, and we had $2.5 million of pumping sewage and also debris removal, as well as other expenditures and damage to city property. We look at that and it's about $3 million. And in order to perfect our claim, we're still going to need some work from Carlisle Thompson to move that forward. They worked well with the city staff. We think we're almost at the end of our process. Any questions?
So the reason is we're going to get more money back in the long run by spending this amount up front.
Yeah, the city staff could not have handled this in this time period. We had to have outside help to do that. There is a portion of this $100,000 that we will be able to put into our FEMA claim as well, saying we needed admin help.
And what is that claim again that we're owed from FEMA?
Well, we're going to go ahead and assert that this is what we spent on the storm. They're going to review it, but it's $3 million is what we have right now. Those
Oh,
total
okay.
expenditures.
All right.
May I ask one question? Yes. Have they advised you that FEMA is reimbursing people and governments? Because
I don't know of any cash right now that's in local government hands in the Tampa Bay area, but I'm just trying to perfect our claim.
And this money came basically from our reserves?
That's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
We're asking permission to transfer it from the administrative over to finance in order to pay for professional fees. There are $362,000 budgeted in reserves. We're asking for that too as well.
What does that leave left in our contingency?
262,000 in reserve.
Okay, so reserve monies. So no more millions of dollars in reserve, which is what we like.
No.
this is just one reserve account.
Right.
Go ahead.
I think I got a bus.
All right.
Budgeted funds that we can spend, we only allowed it that 362,000. Do we have more in reserve? Yes, we have, but you haven't given us the authority to spend any additional funds in reserve.
Okay. I guess my question was, the last time I looked at the total reserves that we had, it was in the millions, not.
That's correct. You would have undesignated reserve in the general fund of like $8 to $10 million.
Okay, that's what I recall. So we're spending a third of that or whatever, and we need it because we needed it to spend it when we needed to spend it, and now we're hoping for reimbursement. There's no guarantee, but we'll figure out a way to pay that back if we have to.
I believe you'll get a major portion of this $3 million back.
Right.
So we approve this request?
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Ted. Mayor's announcements. No, excuse me. City manager's report.
5-1.
Oh, did I?
Mr. Stovall is
no,
here
no,
to
sorry.
present the ZEDC update on economic development.
Hey, good evening. I think the agenda might have listed the first quarter report as the topic, but the topic is actually the first 3 months, 4 months of this month, and we're trying to do kind of a quarterly report. The last time I talked about our medical survey, but I want to tell you the things we've been doing this year. We've been pretty busy. We had back in February, we had a tour for our stakeholders to go out to the professional hair labs in our industrial area. And I know just it's an exciting company. So a word or two about Professional Hair Labs. They are an international company. They make hair and cosmetic products in Ireland. They put them on a ship. They ship them to Fort Lauderdale. It all comes to Zephyrhills where it's packaged and then distributed. So it's a very neat company that they have expanded since they've been here. They have plans to continue to expand. And the question I asked them that I think you'll like is, how did you pick Zephyrhills? How does Ireland and Zephyrhills go together? And the answer was, at some point, the family lived in Tampa. And when they decided they needed this U.S. distribution center, the best place in all of Tampa Bay that they could think of was Zephyrhills. So I thought that was a good answer for us, and they're happy here. So they're a good company. In March, we did something a little different. We have steering committee in March, and we brought the CEO from CareerSource, Jerome Salatino, to meet all the city staff, because we've not ever had the CareerSource CEO here. We've had services from CareerSource, but it was a good thing to have him here, and it was very helpful.
And I would tell you, I don't know who all is on the distribution list, but one of Career Source's representatives, a guy named Carlos Aceveda, does a periodic jobs report for the county. And he is generous. He comes to our stakeholders meetings and talks to us. So Career Source has been helpful to us at ZEDC. In April, we had Tom Murdano, who's the CEO of AmSkills, to talk to stakeholders. And I thought we had a pretty good turnout that day. And more interestingly, Mayor and I had gone to see him, 5 years ago, maybe? And then we went again in January. And the question every time we go to see him, his operation is over in West Pasco, is, when you come into East Pasco, we have people that could use your services. And so he actually wants to come to East Pasco. And you know what excites him? He works particularly in the manufacturing world. And we're now in the manufacturing world, right? We're big time. And so he really sees the need for what he does to be here. And I know he toured the BAR's Propane Gas AC Academy. And I think there's real good potential that we'll be able to bring some of his services here. You heard that mentioned as possible helpful for the homeless folks. And I will tell you, a project that they did originally there on the west side was actually a person had to ride a bicycle to come to their training because they had no money, but they got them placed in a job after they went through that service. So it does work for people that are sometimes down and out, and helps the businesses too. So I have a lot of excitement about the potential for AmSkills. And then something that I thought was neat about that particular presentation, not only did we have our normal people, but we had the president of Pasco Hernando State College came because he wanted to hear about it. And so he was impressed with EDC, and he's asked us if he could come be our speaker at a future stakeholders. And to me, that's very exciting. I worked at that school a long time. We've never got the president to come to something we're doing here. So he's relatively new, and that's good. He likes us, and I think he can provide services to us as well. Then in addition to that, our CEO, Vicki, is continuing her education and workforce. She's doing a 6 weeks course with the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives, and it's one of those, she has to do work every week, and she'll get smarter, and that means she'll serve us better. So if you see her, praise her for that work. We are working, and she's working on revamping our Clearly Zephyrhills webpage as our project for the year. And she has consulted with a number of web page designers, got a plan. She says the first thing you'll begin to see if you look at Clearly Zephyrhills will be new pictures and new video, then more text to be done later in the summer. And then the last thing she wanted to make sure you know, and I know you do know this, but we had a great groundbreaking for Baduco, right? It was a great program, and she was helpful to that. As part of her job is to help people do those things. And so she is currently working with city staff and the staffs at both MyTech and Tibbetts, and you're going to be seeing a similar kind of operation. I suspect it won't be as spectacular as the one at Baduco, but it'll be good. So we're busy. We have things still to do, and hope you are happy with what we're doing.
You have any questions?
All right.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I've been attending the ZDEC meetings, and I agree with you about Pasco Hernando State College president coming. We've had some good programs, I think. We heard tonight how they link in with other things we're doing here.
Right.
So I think it's a good thing to build these relationships. Thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming too.
If those 750 jobs that we've attracted,
Right.
industry related jobs, if we could get the folks who live in this community trained and get those jobs for them, that would be amazing, because I think there's going to be a lot of competition for those jobs because they'll be higher paying. And, we have the Wesley Chapel market and all of those, but all of those folks that, I'd really like to see us incentivize local youth to pursue those positions. But don't know how realistic that is.
Well, getting skills working in our community will be a step towards that. So let's hope we can make that happen. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty.
Okay, that was 5.1. Did that include both 1 and 2, didn't it?
Yes, sir.
It did? Okay. I'll move forward to the mayor's announcements.
I don't have any.
City manager's announcements.
Quickly, I had the pleasure of speaking to Silver Oaks HOA. Councilman Spina was there. It was solely my pleasure to speak about stormwater to those individuals. So I'll just leave it at that, but they were informed about what we're doing, what Pasco County's doing, what our plans are. Also, I think Chief mentioned about the PD holding a town hall meeting where we had officers here where citizens could come in and voice their concerns and just have conversations with officers. So it was a great event. The little bit of time that I was here, had several citizens come in and they all appeared to leave happy. I mean, yeah, I was gonna say something else. Great event. As a reminder, speaking of stormwater, Pasco County is holding a CDBG DR meeting on May 13th at 6 p.m. at the train depot. And Tibbetts is having their groundbreaking on the 10th or on the 13th as well at 10 a.m. So both of those events, I just want to make sure you have that on your radar, and reminder that we have MAP meeting Thursday evening.
This coming Thursday.
This coming Thursday. I'll have.
All right.
The county one is going to be here or? It's gonna-
Train depot.
At the train depot.
Yes,
I have it on here and it's at 6 p.m.
6 p.m. on the 13th.
Okay. I just didn't put where. Okay. Thank you.
City attorney's announcements. All right, city council comments. I'll start with Councilman Smith.
I don't have any, but I just wanted to ask, when are we not in this room anymore? Tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, so the next.
Okay.
Election begins tomorrow. We should be back in for the June 12th meeting. So basically the month of May.
Woman Wilkerson.
Yes, thank you. Well, I just wanted to I saw Councilman Smith, and I also saw, I understand our mayor attended on Friday night. Main Street Zephyrhills hosted a music and a market and music event. Oh, you were there too.
He
I didn't
was
see you,
there,
but
yeah.
I was in costume.
Storm. Huh?
Hey,
Yeah.
he got ice cream.
And pizza.
Did it melt before you got home? I know it would. Okay.
Anyway, I think, the turnout wasn't as robust, I think, as the committee had hoped, but I think the people who were there enjoyed themselves. We had amazing array of gift baskets that raised some money, I think, for the Marquee restoration project. And I just think that we are the ball is beginning to roll on that job. And I've talked with the executive committee about preparing, an update for the city, very similar to what the chamber has done. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Steve.
I don't have anything.
Bridges?
I don't have anything either.
And neither do I. So does anyone else want to speak to us? Seeing none, I'm going to close the meeting. Let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll go into the third meeting.
Mint gum, anybody? Mint gum?
Well, you want some?
I need one. God,
Oh, I hear you.
before I breathe on anybody. And it needs to be seriously strong. We put.
See what?
I'm great. How are you?
That was the issue.
My friend.
The May 13th meeting, they're like, everyone was like, why are you doing the depot? It's the only place that was open. Because I'm like, house hall's already booked. Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know something.
Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll go have to make a note right now. So we'll look at house hall in. How big is the depot? Sorry, how many
probably just doesn't know any better. I don't, he likes to be, yeah. I don't know, that's weird. So, man, live the dream. Whoa. Hey, you didn't hear what I said? You hear me? You didn't hear what I said? I was like, that's a sick.
That's the mayor's.
Hey, there's something about walking up to this thing when I get scares the crap out of me.
After a meeting. Let me. Alternate bid. I went from this is continue. Not in that original number.
Contingency, you gotta have it, but if you don't have to use it, you don't.
Right, exactly. But when it doesn't, it's not in that original number, so it's not fair to compare them.
Right.
You got to compare apples to apples. All right, so we're up a couple of million. Explain that. That's what I kept telling you.
Visioning for 5 p.m.
Way more fun.
Hey, thanks for that presentation, Nathan.
Yeah, it was January 13th. All right. Thank you, sir. Sorry about that. No problem. Okay. But they were all going to meet in the library. Okay. As long as it'll let me log in, I can look here. Or I can do right now, the better, since I have a very limited window tomorrow. Okay. I gotta pull up my cheat sheet. Excel sheet with all my logins and all my links. So as long as I can get to the SharePoint, I can get to anything. That's fine. You don't know my password. So I have a fear of face recognition because I think exactly that's exactly what. Okay, so I'm on the calendar here. Let me see. You said May 8th, right? So May 8th, it's the needle occupied right now.
Try that house hall or train depot on the 8th. House hall would be better.
Okay, but we need more people who have videos for
They kicked everyone out for the
radios.
entire week.
Yes.
So
And
oh,
they send
soon
information
deliveries going in. They had two already, and I put the other two in there. So yes.
for, with what we're talking about next?
Well,
Okay.
it wasn't me.
Okay.
Well, this is it. We can make this change. I think right now you're looking at the live.
Okay. Okay.
Oops, sorry. I'm sorry. No, I understand.
Let's get going. I'm standing
Hey,
for
I'll
this
try.
meeting. You won't know the difference, but.
I didn't anticipate spending 2.5 hours talking to them.
Yeah.
Well, I knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
I don't know how come you guys didn't, but I'm standing for this meeting. I'm not sitting down in that chair any longer.
I know, I understand why.
I might need your help in this one.
I got no padding.
And I'll be texting on this one. You're okay through the rest of the meeting.
All right. Some of us gotta get up early.
Yep, my computer. Hold me over.
All right, hold on. Give me a minute here.
Oh, here it is.
All right.
Hey, Jody, I was moving stuff one time
Yeah.
and in my truck and it fell out and a lady behind me got hit by it, some of it.
Yeah.
When I saw what Bob did, I thought, Bob must not have had twine."
Well, he did secure it, just not well enough.
All
Yeah.
right.
I
Good
got it.
evening. Again, it's Monday, April 28th, 2025, 6:30 PM meeting, but it's actually 8:10. Ricardo, could you do the roll call?
Yes, sir. Charles Proctor,
Here.
Steven Spina,
Here,
Lance Smith, Jody Wilkinson, Kenneth Burgess,
Here.
Mayor Munson,
Here.
William Poe,
Here.
Matthew Maggard.
All right. This is, item number 1 is the workshop for 1.1 storm preparation. I'll turn it over to Billy.
All right, so council had requested a presentation on storm preparation before the 2025 hurricane season. Attached in your packet, you'll find the presentation, an example of a sit rep or the situation report that we receive from Pasco County Emergency Management on a daily basis, sometimes a couple times a day during leading up to an event and during an event, and also the emergency response standard operating procedures for each of the city departments. Those departments include, police, HR, airport, public works, utilities, finance, building, and the building department. Do we have the presentation? Oh, thank you. Operator error. All right, so storm preparation. Here's my own slide here I can read. So pre-storm, so we know storm's coming. We prepare the city, the staff, and resources according to the SOPs for each department. Each department has specific things they need to do. Secure buildings, top off vehicles, top off fuel tanks, make sure generators, pumps, things like that are working. And these are in no particular order. We reach out to stakeholders and coordinate preparation. We ensure the communication plan. We're using cell phones, radios, making sure that everybody has the radios, the red radios that Main Street and everything. All right over there? I don't know. You all right over there?
Picking up the trash there.
Oh, okay. Each department coordinates their equipment and placements, i.e. do we need a generator at, a certain lift station, a certain well house, make sure there's pumps at the proper ponds. We ensure that all the FEMA documentation is current. The 214s, those are kind of the gospel. That's what has to be perfect or pretty darn close to it. That's what tracks employees' times, the use of equipment, and that's what FEMA uses to reimburse the city for the expenditures that we have during an event. What we do is we participate in daily briefings with Pasco County Emergency Management, sometimes depending on the event. Those are multiple times a day, but at least once a day we meet. I say we, staff that you see sitting in the room, we all go to the conference room. We get on the call with emergency management. They go through their presentation, and then we sit once the call's over and we go over what Zephyrhills' response is to the upcoming event. That event could be a wind event, rain event, or a combination thereof. That's to create the action plan for the expected type of event. And then we establish an incident command post if one is needed. This past Hurricane Milton, it was established at the police department. Other times it's here. If it's a lesser impact event, we'll just meet here at City Hall. During the storm, we monitor the event. We respond to calls for assistance while conditions permit. That's anything under, as long as the winds are under 45 miles per hour. PD, Public Works, Utilities, excuse me, will respond to calls to the public. Once the winds get above 45, we try to hunker down. I know there are times where PD may go out, depending on what the call is. I know in this past Hurricane Milton, there were individuals that were stuck in some waters, and another agency would not go out. So we had officers that went out and made that rescue in the middle of the storm. So we also ensure the safety of staff and the protection of resources, and we protect the life and property of residents as the conditions permit. Post-storm, we have strike teams that are deployed, and they complete damage assessments, and that can be utilities, public works, building department, police department, or a combination thereof. We coordinate the debris removal, and then that leads to the restoration services, the completion of the FEMA forms, the 214s that I spoke of earlier, the police department building department and some of the other departments complete substantial damage improvement reports. If you're familiar, in Silver Oaks specifically, those are, house was flooded, building department goes out and makes an assessment, was the property damaged more than 50% or not, gives a dollar amount, and then those get turned into FEMA, right? Yep. And then we have the after action report after the event. Any questions at this point? So lessons learned from Milton. We need to ensure that we have food and water for all personnel. I think Milton, and I'll say for myself, I think I kind of was under the impression or the feeling it's going to be like every other hurricane that we get comes through. Not going to be as bad. And when I woke up in the morning and Eric and I had to cut well, I don't know, we weren't the ones cutting, we were pulling the debris, but cut through 4 or 5 trees to get to work. And then you round the corner and everything's flooded. It was like, whoa, this was the real deal here. But with that, we had food and water. I know PD was well prepared, but I think moving forward, we need to make sure that we have food and rations for all city staff. And Chief and I've talked about that, to where we have meal times, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and all staff can go to one location. The need for portable stop signs, power was out, so we had a lot of signalized intersections that became free for all. Well, they were supposed to be 4-way stops, but people, I don't know, all of a sudden don't know how to treat a non-signalized intersection as a 4-way stop anymore. So that's one of the things that we learned that we needed additional cones and barriers. Some smaller cones that are just kind of portable that can be in trunks of vehicles that can be utilized. I'll skip the next item, but I'll come back to it. But better communication or coordination with all the departments. we need to do a better job of providing information to the sit reps. And so in your packet, there's an example of a situation report that comes out from Pasco County, and it lists everything that's occurring in each municipality and in the county. And this isn't just Zephyrhills, but speaking of Zephyrhills, I think all the cities can do a better job of putting information into that system or supplying that information to Pasco County so it can be put out. So we'll work on that. Another thing that we're working on, or that we realized we needed, was a disaster response pay policy. So for instance, everybody in this room worked way more than 40 hours. And we said, I believe council approved it, pay
Emergency overhead.
emergency overtime, pay it. The issue is we didn't have an emergency pay policy, so we're not getting reimbursed for those hours over 40 that everyone in the room got paid for. We're going to eat that cost. But if we had a pay policy in place, FEMA would reimburse us for those expenses. So one has been drafted. Department heads will be looking at that tomorrow when we pass that out. And then I'll go back to the utilization of the Web EOC. So the Web EOC is a software program that all parties, municipalities, county, if you need something, a pump, hose, fuel, you pick it, you pick something, that's where you go to put it in the system and make your request. We were not utilizing that. I don't know that we've had to utilize it in the past because we've self-performed everything in-house. As you know, the storm was a lot bigger. We realized quickly we needed to utilize this. So I think going forward, we now know how to use it. And we saw how quickly we can get things. For instance, 9th Avenue Pond, we needed a pump and we needed hose. It was put in, and within an hour, the response came back, you'll have it tomorrow morning, which was less than 24 hours from when the request came in. So I think that's a big part of, and a big go-to, big safety net for us, that we can make that request there. We did utilize, I'll say on the utility side, we utilize Flaw Warn. So that's what group was that with? Florida Rural Water came in and they helped us a lot with the pumping, with the stormwater, or excuse me, with the sewer water and the issues that we're having because lift station 28 was down. So, we'll continue to utilize that as well. Any questions on?
Before we go to Milton, I just want to make a couple of comments, Mr. President. Okay. You talked about food and water for our personnel. So one of the things we learned is that the first day after the storm, Public Works and utility workers went without lunch that day, some of them. And then even the next day when I was trying to provide lunch, it was very hard to find a place that had product that was not ruined from being without power so I was able, fortunately Subway was on a grid that didn't go down, and so they had food and we were able to get we were able to get sandwiches and snacks for everyone. Regarding the additional cones and barriers, so one of the things we're talking about today, what do we need at the new city yard? Well, clearly we'll need storage for that. So that's one of those things that needs to be in the program that we might not have thought about before, because barriers are hard to store. They take up a lot of space. And then one of the questions I had was, who is the person providing information for sit reps? Is that like a PIO job, or do you feed information and then he sends it out, or?
Yes, that's excuse me, what it'll be is the PIO would supply that information. So he would collect it from us, or we would provide it to the PIO. The PIO then submits it to Pasco. I will say I did not do a good job of feeding that information to the PIO. I think we did a decent job of getting information out to the public. I think we can improve on that as well, but we did not have a focus of trying to get the information to Pasco County. We gave them some, but it wasn't probably at the level it should have been. So it could be in that sit reps.
Well, and there are examples of where you've provided generators and things to other communities in the old fashioned way, pick up the phone, but now it sounds like you have a website for that.
We do. And so this Web EOC is we send it to Pasco County, and then the Pasco County makes the request. So Pasco can either has it on. What we learned was that Pasco County Public Works, Larry Alcady, Larry actually had ordered generators and had them sitting on site prior to the storm. And we did not realize that. So I think one of the big things that I've seen is the communication and the coordination between the city and the county during Milton and after Milton. That relationship, I think, has improved quite a bit. Just they were out here. We were trying to, I mean, for example, they're just cleaning, I'd say just, but they're cleaning the ditch and they're not worrying about, oh, that part of it's in the city, part of it's in the county. They're just taking care of the entire ditch for us.
It should be.
Well, I agree. But I mean, I think if we didn't have that relationship, it would be a lot more, it'd be a heavier lift to get them to do that for us. But the food and water, I think that's the conversation that we had was trying to coordinate and
How do you do that? I mean, that's a good question. Okay. Remember how it was. You couldn't, no stores were open or anything. So you've got to have a place with a generator or refrigeration or something. So
Battery backup.
So how do you?
Yeah.
So PD and trying to make sure that we have, and listen, sometimes you might be eating peanut butter and jellies. But I will tell you, we have an amazing, I'll say chef, in San Juanita, sworn police officer, but kind of that's her thing. She comes in and she's in charge. She makes the menu. And if you want to speak to that, yeah. So I think that's part of, we're going to have to figure out how to get like 3 or 4 days worth of food.
Freezers and refrigerators and stuff.
So just so you know, we actually did plan for everybody to eat, and Juanita had it scheduled for each meal. I think somewhere along the line there was I don't know if we just didn't get it out to everybody of when those meal times were going to be, and I think that's where some of the confusion became was, well, we don't have food, but we did prepare for feeding all of the staff. But we ran out of food pretty quick. So we did have to go back and repurchase food. So.
And I've been watching this weather real close now, and we're this temperature globally is inching up, and it's exponentially going up now. So I don't like saying it, but we got to be ready for this coming summer. I mean, I hope I'm totally wrong, but I'm glad we're looking at all this, and it's hard now to think about all the issues that we had back then. I mean, everything was a little chaotic, but I'm glad y'all all are here. I'm glad we're putting thought into how we can help everything.
I think Milton was a huge lesson. And I thought we did it pretty well up until that point. Milton just kind of tested our limits. And we learned a lot from it. So I think we will be more prepared for something of that nature if it ever comes around.
I agree.
And I will say that, purchasing of the food, if we're able to get X number of days, that we do have relationships with the Publix, the Winn-Dixie, those places that we're able to get in, and I don't want to, but basically get in the front of the line.
Right.
Hey, we need X, Y, and Z to be able to respond to the community. And that helps.
Well, and you're right in establishing those relationships right, now,
Right.
and as you have with Pasco County,
Well,
that's invaluable.
Even if we bought the food and we don't need it, we donate it. We donate it to Meals on Wheels or whatever.
Oh, we use it.
Okay.
It was used.
Yeah.
And honestly, if there's food left over, and that's a great thing to do. I would say, give us a week. Let's have staff, let's sit down and eat. You just, you get an hour or two off. Let's just have lunch together without the stress of, oh God, what tree do I have to go cut now? Or what sewer line do I have to go, jump back into? So I think there are opportunities for all that.
We did feed staff for about 8 days. So we did kind of cut back to, I think there was times where we didn't do dinner or we didn't do lunch when people were able to go home, but we did try to feed people as long as we could. So.
Let me ask you, what about making sure everybody has time to get their personal
Yep. So
house
that's,
in effect?
so that's
and
part of the pre-storm where we prepare the city staff and resources. Um, as we're going through that process and we see what's coming, it's like, okay, we're 48 hours out. Who needs to go home? Are there people that need to go home? Go home. You know, and so because we realize that if the employees got issues at home, you know, outside of the storm even, but during a storm, if you're worried about your house being flooded, your house, you know, roof ripping off, tree, whatever, you got to be able to secure your place. So because you know, once a storm hits, you're coming to work and you may be here for 4, 5, 6, 2 weeks. You know, so we try to give that opportunity. And again, it depends on what type of events coming, you know, and what the forecast is for us. So actions since Milton. So we've constructed swales along 4th Ave and 13th Street, 4th Ave and 20th, and then 13th Street and between 7th and 8th Ave to try to just help with some of the flooding that occurs there. Not just on, you know, because it was Milton. Am I keeping you awake there, Gail? You know, but hopefully that'll help just on normal rainfall events. 9th Avenue Pond, we've applied for funding at the state level, and we're asking Pasco County, you know, for the part of the CDBG funds. But we've been talking to Kimley Horn to see if there's, you know, what is the design that would add additional capacity there and reduce the flood level. So we think we can do that without purchasing any property. And of course, if we're able to purchase property, you know, that's just a benefit or a bonus. Meadowwood subdivision, we're working on getting an emergency generator there. We also are asking Pasco County for some funding on that. And then Councilman Smith, you had the idea of putting in a pipe to equalize between the two ponds. So we added that as part of our ask to Pasco County. We budgeted a pump, and that was that's been ordered. Yep. So that was approved by council. So that's been ordered.
you think that'll be here before a storm season?
The generator will not be, and from what I can tell is the state, don't believe the state funded the generator. So that's something we'll have to look at. There was just discussions around the Silverado ponds and those ponds blowing out. What I can tell you is that once we were aware that the ponds had blown out, code enforcement went out, issued a citation, and the repair process began. Those 4 or 5 ponds have all been repaired now. And so again, we'll have to make sure that they're doing their annual maintenance. My understanding is that the CDD, HOA, or combination of hired a contractor to go in and basically do yearly maintenance on that and make sure that those ponds are functioning the way they're supposed to be functioning and not, you know, blowing out at the overspills.
Right. And then Larry, they said something about doing an engineer's letter stating that they're not going to blow out again. They were prepared or
Yes.
repaired properly.
Yep.
So we need to get that
Yep.
too. Because I think, Shane, you were in on that meeting, weren't you? So, I mean, we just got to make sure they don't do it again.
Yep. Zephyr Creek Canal, I've updated council on that quite a bit, but May 12th, the inmates will be here behind Great Catch, working with city crews to clean that section of the canal. And Pasco County began last week with their contractor began last week to clean out from C Avenue South to Chancey 301. We're also asking Pasco County to allocate the $18 million from the CDBG funds to improve the Zephyr Creek Canal, make those improvements, and the Silver Oaks Basin, the outfall from Silver Oaks underneath the island. Silver Oaks subdivision, it's really tied into Zephyr Creek Canal. We're working on trying to get Pasco County to fund those projects and get those done so we can hopefully at least reduce the flooding chance in the subdivision there. Lift Station 28, council approved the raising of the generator and the control panels. They are to begin RCM. RCM is to begin that project the end of May. They should be done end of July, beginning of August, raising the generator, raising the control panels, and sealing the vault doors that are at ground level.
Is that the one at Silver Oaks?
That is the one at Silver Oaks
Okay.
that was shut down, that caused 8 other stations to have to be shut down. So we should be good there. And then also we're working on trying to get funding again through Pasco County, through that CDBG fund, those funds, to purchase home at 9th Avenue, the duplex there at Henry Drive, the home on 16th Street there at Alpha Village.
North.
That's Dave Armstrong's home.
Yeah.
So Alpha Village and Lehigh Court, I think it is, in there.
Where's Hannah Lane?
Hannah Lane is the Hazelwood. That's the property just south of the
okay.
Y.
All right. It's the
So
other
we always say Hazelwood, but they're the home
Is
that
on Hannah.
is Hannah Lane. So we're working on trying to get those homes purchased as well. Correct. Yep.
What about 20th Street? Anything on?
So 20th Street, ironically, I think you're speaking specifically at like 4th Ave, 5th Ave. Ironically, during Milton, that didn't flood. I don't know if the water got so high it rushed away, but we dug a swale from 20th to 19th. So we're going to see if that makes a difference. There's no engineering on it, so we don't know the additional capacity, but there is a swale that runs along the north side of 4th Ave. Yeah, it's not going to hurt.
It just feels like we probably need another spot along there. And then when you mentioned Henry Drive, there's a big retention pond to the west of Florida Ranch Acres, which may be for them, but that water that was pooling on Henry Drive, like at 17th Street, there might have been a way to move that underground into that swale, into that retention pond.
So yes, I'm sorry. So Henry Drive, this is referring to the duplex that's right across the street from the high school. So that would be 9th Ave, I think. No,
10th Street.
10th Street.
10th and 9th.
Between 10th and 9th, right by the nursing home there. So that duplex flooded the entire parking lot and flooded the band hall. Of course, the band hall's recessed 3 feet, and that's what got flooded. I do know we were talking about at Henry and 17th and Henry and 18th, I think were the two. And there is like a depression area that's up closer to 54 or up on 54.
Routed it, underground, it would go, like just make a storm sewer or just a drain. I mean, but we'd have to get someone's permission for that, but still, that would solve the problem.
Yeah.
I think it's just the elevation's higher than the fallout.
Right. And I think, I mean, in my experience, that area is one of those areas that that I'm aware of. We've never had any flooding complaints there. Henry Drive. So in 30 years, we've not had a complaint there, whereas Henry.
New development around there either.
Right. Yeah. It's just a lot of rainfall that exceeded the capacity of the ponds. So kind of looking at that area, like, I don't know if that's the higher priority, because there's other areas that we know have had historic flooding.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
We have done a couple of storm drainage studies over the last years.
Correct.
About pinpointing some places.
Mm.
How are we using that to guide our future?
So there was a study done we had a study done that was done 2 years ago. So 23, the one previous to that was 2009, 2016. There was one done previous to that. So we're using that, obviously to drive where we're doing our improvements. We met last week with a consulting firm to put together a plan for a stormwater assessment fee for the city. the fee that came back to us, in my mind, was outrageous. So we called another firm and asked them to look at the scope and give us a price to see if the first price was in the ballpark where it should be. So the plan is, and I failed to put that on here, is to look at a stormwater assessment fee citywide. So that way we have a dedicated funding source to these, for these issues, and then start attacking the known areas through the stormwater plan with a stormwater master fee. Yeah.
When they do that, they develop a master plan, and that's the nexus that gives you the ability to.
Yes. Yeah.
Tax.
And yes. So we have the plan, and it says, here's the, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10 projects that need to be completed. Here are the estimated cost, and here's the fees it's going to take you. And then we have to decide, is it a 5-year plan, 10-year, 15, 20-year? And then the fee will be, assessed accordingly. We just have to find I think the original quote was like $350,000 to do a stormwater assessment fee. And
How much?
$350,000, which seems absolutely ridiculous to me. So that's why we're getting a second price to see where the number really should be. And maybe that is the price. I don't know. If it is, we'll have to go that direction. I don't believe it is, but we'll see.
Did it flood around West Elementary?
Yes. Yep. So First Street was flooded as well. Yep. Tree Lane Village, 8th Ave or 8th Street, where the canal comes underneath 8th. That was flooded. Acme Fence was completely flooded.
And there's a pump in the lift station in front of Woodland, or not Woodland West, that goes to the Zephyr Lake. Is that right or no?
There's a pump in front of West Elementary at that intersection at 14th and First that then pumps to Zephyr Park. Or it comes out at the canal right next to Bob's.
Is that one up? Is it okay, or the pump and?
Shane LeBlanc, Public Works Director. That lift station, 14th Ave and First Street, that's got a 12-inch pipe that runs down First Street and it drains into the Zephyr Canal north of 54. It's got a little pop off right there. And
that pump in good shape and everything?
That pump and wet well and everything's in good condition. We've ordered a generator for that lift station that has not come in yet.
That was a year ago, right?
Yeah, it's been about a year. Because that's the issue we've had with that pump station before. If the Duke power goes out, our pump station's dead. So as an improvement, we budgeted to put that emergency generator in. And as soon as we get that, that'll be one more less issue that we have.
Start getting scared when we start talking about all this stuff, it? It really starts like, oh.
Talk about the weather, and we don't know. For years we watched the storms peel off and go up the East Coast. Then we watch them go to the Panhandle, and it looks like we don't know. We might be in a cycle where every year we're going to be getting them like this. So it is kind of scary in a way. I had one quick thing, and I'm glad we took care of our employees, and we talked about some different things, feeding and so on. Because I talked to a lot of department heads what's going on to make sure we're taking care of our guys. That just watch them, because some of them were impacted as bad, if not worse, than a lot of people they were trying to help. So I thought it was good that we were making sure that we were taking care of our employees. So along them lines, and I talked with you about this before, Billy, because, with the Kucha Electric did this, where they actually contracted with former employees to come out and help in getting things up and running. And I think it would be valuable for us to look at some former employees ahead of time. And I don't know how you got to do this, your 1099 and whatever it might be. I remember when I was working construction and I got into teaching, and then like in the summertime, I'd go out and help. It was fun. It was fun to get out there and work again, Right. And I think we might be able to utilize some of these guys. Let's say we have somebody who has a house that has a big problem. He has to be home. Somebody could fill in for a few days that already kind of knows the routines, knows some of the people and stuff. So I think if we can work it out, it would be pretty valuable to find some of those people that would be willing to come back and do it. I think a lot of them would.
And one of the things that if we can have a little bit of communication. Like, I didn't know some of our employees got impacted until like way down, and we did have resources that we could have helped with them. So if we could make sure that because each one of these people are with different Rotary clubs and different organizations, that we can get boots on the ground and help our own employees when they're here too, if we know that.
Any other questions? That's my,
Oh, it's good
well, I
to-
don't even know what that
What
is.
does that say?
It says questions when I typed it in.
That says questions?
Yeah, that's,
Wow. You were tired when you
that's
typed
Romanian
that.
for questions.
Well,
Maybe it's
seeing no
Turkish.
questions.
Look, I'll show you on my screen. It says questions.
Yeah, okay. So just, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mayor.
I saw that after this, we have every department has put together a plan of action, and thank you for that. That we definitely have to have that, each one of them ready and prepared, so.
Yeah, and so just so you know that those SOPs were, you know, they were tweaked when I asked for them. But those are the ones that we've had in place. You know, they didn't just create them
Okay,
because
good.
we needed this meeting.
Good.
Those have been in place. Those departments follow those. You know,
But they saw ways that it could be improved, probably.
correct.
Okay, perfect.
And what we need to do as council, we need to figure out what's our response, you know, before
Yeah,
we need to plan to meet before and after the event. you
Oh,
know.
yeah. Especially if we know one's coming our way. I agree 100%.
Absolutely.
And I will say, I mean, it's one thing that's not on there, not to prolong the meeting, but I know there was a lot of conversation around food distribution points, you know, the pod system,
Yes.
the point of distributions, the comfort stations, those things. And I think as the event's coming and we can now, I mean, that's one of the things we learned is we got to have better communication on that and say, this is where we want it. Because we weren't always the driver on that. And I will tell you, there was a couple times where I said, yeah, I don't think we need that. And they said, it's going in. We've been told. And it came from
The laundry facility.
yes,
yeah.
the laundry facility that honestly, the only people that used it were the truck drivers. And granted, they needed it. But that's who was using those facilities at the time. But politically, it was going there. So
deal with it.
that's something that we'll have to look at. I know gas lines, you know, again, a learned experience of you know, how we handle that. I say how the PD handles it in routing lines and just the traffic control and getting tankers here. Same with the food distribution and making sure that's all, you know, get it to a right location that we can create some queuing systems that don't impact the traffic flow. So those are all things that, and we kind of got to see what the storm event's going to be and then try to manage the resources before they come in or as they're coming in. So any questions? Any further?
I've just a couple more things, and this is not related to this. I should have brought this up at the last council meeting, but the design of the dais. So we've seen some drawings, but we haven't seen detailed shop drawings. Are we going to be able to see people? Because right now, you know, the way the screen is designed, we can't see people.
You can't see anybody.
Standing there.
No.
Especially if we had a short person, we would be in bad shape.
This is what I have, so I can see over mine.
Yeah.
It's so uncomfortable.
And you don't have to respond to this right now. It's just that if you would just make a note, we want to be able to see over the monitors. We want to be able to see people. We need some heavier duty trash cans because the magazines that were recycling way more than the trash cans. And so that's why yours got knocked over. Yeah.
With gum wrapper out and it fell apart.
Right. The other thing is that it might be helpful to have a pencil drawer to the right or to the left of the chair for pens or coasters or things like that that we need for, you know.
Or even put pencils. Yeah,
Starting
we can't
construction
add.
tomorrow.
Well,
When are
they-
they going to do that?
I know, but nobody, I never saw any shop drawings and nobody said anything. But now that we're talking about that this is really going to happen, it's going to happen right away. These are minor things that people could make.
So we can look at like a pencil holder to put
maybe
Pencil.
up on the top. We're hoping there's going to be a little more space. As far as being able to see, we're going to be elevated. I think the chairs,
We're going to be on a platform.
yeah.
So we should be on.
I'm going to bring you a little cup for your pencils.
Cup for pens.
Thing was that I would like to ask Ricardo that when we do PowerPoint presentations on these screens, if, if somebody shows up with a PowerPoint presentation and hands you, a thumb drive and we haven't seen it on the agenda, those should be legible from 15 feet away. So you should tell somebody if they're going to bring a PowerPoint presentation, make sure it's visible from the monitors, because, when you use light gray font like you did for that PowerPoint, can't read it. Can't read it.
So,
maybe it's just me, but.
so from this side, from the audience, you can see it. I agree with you. Here,
Yeah.
you can't see. So we do try to get, and yes, we should have made this presentation. We should have gotten copied and got to you. We did send it out earlier because they sent it to us, I think Friday afternoon, and then brought the thumb drive in today. So,
Well, didn't we a few meetings ago, we had a way, we put it on the computers where we could actually look at a late coming one. We did something.
It was the share of the screen.
Yeah,
or...
you can log into go to meetings.
Go to meetings, right. We
The
did it
link
through
is
go to
on the
meetings.
agenda,
Yeah.
and you'll have it on your individual
Right
monitor.
on our computers.
I think what I'm hearing is we need to have our IT director, do a little demonstration and class
Are hearing
for
that.
council on how to do the go-to meetings so that everything
All you
that
gotta do is
Ricardo
push
sees
a
on his
button.
screen, council can see. So then you have the
On
presentation
the agenda
here
packet,
as
there's a
as they're
little blue
flipping
button.
through it.
So
Yeah.
other stuff, late coming stuff. Oh, okay.
See
We
that
could do
blue,
that,
that blue link?
Yeah,
It's
okay.
clickable.
Oh, okay. Hey, I have one question.
Okay.
I mean, this doesn't have anything to do with, so regarding the city yard.
Hmm.
So the discrepancy in the price really was, we didn't have the soft costs.
That was the biggest thing. And I'll be honest with you, that was not explained, and I didn't realize that until tonight.
I didn't either. And then I felt like,
Because the soft cost, there's $6 million in there that potentially, I mean, we're going to spend some of that.
right, not all of
But
it,
we should hopefully not spend all of that. But yeah, I didn't realize that until this presentation as well, is we're 4 million over, and explain the 4 million, why we're 4 million over. And I think some of that is, I mean, we've increased some of the size and we've asked for mezzanine levels for that growth so that we're not growing out of the building. And so that's kind of,
There's been a scope creep, that's what we call that in the industry, is that, the requirements became more and more and more as they drilled down, where they realized they needed more stuff. So that's what drives the cost of that.
there was some of that.
the building though wasn't that much off really. It was the soft costs that weren't, is what
Really
we
increased.
didn't see.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I think if we went from 17 to 21 and tell council that, there's less,
Well, and if those other
less
people who
impact
were
or
bidding,
less stressing.
Well, it would have been a little annoying, but not as annoying as 28 million.
Right. Joel, trust me, as a staff, we were trying to figure out how we're bringing that to council to let you know that it's $9 million over.
Before we chose CPH though, my question is, did those other proposals include that number and we didn't know it?
Oh, I think the original one by Harvard Jolly was 19 million for the construction.
Yeah, I think it was
And then they said they
construction
could
costs
take it to
only across the board.
16. But nobody was talking soft costs.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't believe any of the presentations included the soft costs. They were strictly looking at construction.
Billy, real quick, Jody was requesting a cup holder. I'm gonna need a mini fridge over here, all right?
Let's bring one down here too.
We'll put one on each. We've got that back in the back.
Get a snack.
Well, we didn't think that the council meeting would take 2.5.
We thought that would be
All right, on
an
that, we're
hour.
going to close the meeting. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Charlie.
Well, someone else comes up with a question.
That's right. It's all your fault.
Oh, okay. Do you have anything? Okay. Do we-
Yeah, I need some because I'm starving.
I know.
And I don't have
But I
anything
don't
in
want
my
any
husband.
sugar. This time,